You are.
Recording in progress.
You're set.
Ready? Good evening. Call to order the Tuesday, November 7th, 2023 meeting of the Common Council, City of Franklin. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Mayor Nelson.
Here.
Alderman Hopfer.
Here.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Present.
Alderman Hassan.
Here.
Alderwoman Day.
Here.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Here. Excellent. Everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Citizen comment period. Any citizen wish to speak, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, please. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. My name is Mark Mundell. I live at 3875 West College Avenue. And I'm here to speak on support of item 14, change of zip code or change of getting my mailing address from Milwaukee to Franklin. What will happen starting January 1st next year, I will be, because of an unfortunate mailing address, I will be taxed 2 percentage points higher than anyone else in the city of Franklin, because Milwaukee Common Council, which does not represent me, raised their sales tax to make their government functional. While I don't have problems with paying my fair share of taxes, I do have problems paying above my fair share. So I want to encourage you to support 14 and encourage you to follow up. This not only affects my household, but approximately 400 other households in the city of Franklin. This resolution should be shared with our federal elected officials, which have 3 different ideas of what needed to be done. One says it takes a congressional resolution, which could be 4 years in coming. Another says, shipped it back and said this is a local issue, not a federal issue, even though it's the federal U.S. Postal Service that has the mailing address problem. And a third sent some forms that I think I shared with my alderman and the mayor. So I'm encouraging you to act on this and follow through. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else wishing to speak at this time?
Joy Draginas-Zingales, 7573 Highview Drive, Greendale. Dear Mayor and Common Council members, after close to 2 months of waiting, the neighbors are continuing to be patient for an invite to the open forum talks regarding the noise at the Rock and PDD. Seeing as all of those affected by the noise would not have had their issues and concerns addressed, would you please give us an idea as to when these talks are to come about? It is important to address each neighbor, as every home has various complaints and issues pertaining to what is disruptive to them personally, considering the elevation, wind, event, etc. It is also important to evaluate the RSG independent sound study, as well as the proven health effects listed in numerous studies, Harvard, Yale, medical journals, scientific journals documented by the WHO, the EU, Iran, Canada, and the world. A while back, Courtney Day stated she could not find any supporting evidence of how noise affects mental, physical, and emotional health. So I have compiled a list of scholarly sites, articles, and studies, which I will email each of you to reference. I will also include how noise affects animals' communication, mating, reproduction, migration, and health, as this is a concern that has been greatly overlooked here. I do have a background in biology, so it is something that I'm well versed in. It is also something that's rather concerning. It was very concerning when we removed many acres of wetland as well and was told, oh, we're just going to move them. You can't move wetland. It's indigenous to the area. I am hopeful our citizen group of neighbors will be given the same graces the Strauss group was given in issue resolution. As Kelly Hirsch can validate, open communication, respect, and, I quote, shared goals of promoting transparency and inclusion within the community are all needed to find resolution here. As stated in Mrs. Hirsch and Mayor Nelson's press release, July 21st, 2023, Mayor Nelson made his unwavering commitment, and I quote, unwavering commitment to resolving contentious issues fairly and justly, paving the way for healing, unity, and a renewed focus with respect for diverse perspectives while remaining committed to the principles of justice and equality. It is in these words our group of neighbors have put their trust in Mayor Nelson and the city of Franklin as a whole to find a resolution we can all agree upon. I just took a look at the documents that were handed out regarding permissible noise exposures. If I will be emailing some of you, I'd like to know the sites that these were taken from, because as you will see in many of the emails I am going to send you, OSHA is one of them. These are a lot of OSHA guidelines, but these are people who are at work, industrial, who are wearing ear coverings. So as these are great resources, you need to tell the whole story when you're submitting these. I have had an acoustics company come to my home and actually measure the noise level of my vacuum. It's 79 decibels. So 79 decibels following you around all day, and then at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night is unacceptable. As much as we want to argue that the 79 decibels is acceptable, that's inside the stadium. That's not on the property line. That's not on the abatement line. That's not in my home. That's not in the residential areas. As much as we want to argue that it has to continue for 30 minutes at a time, that is not what is written. It says it must be corrected within 30 minutes, not that the violation can continue for 30 minutes. Let's be very clear. Be clear, very clear of the words as well as the intent of the words that were written. Thank you.
Good evening, Dale Kerner, 8630 West Hawthorne Lane. Tremendous presentation by Joy. I don't know how I can outdo something like that. How do we say it to you guys? We want to be respected, and we want the same quality of life that we had before the rock and that you people still enjoy. You know, until that happens, we're going to be here all the time. We're going to be with the press. You know, if you want to be a legal matter, you guys want to be spattered all over the news, you know, treating us like second-class citizens, so be it. 79 decibels, you got to be crazy. Thank you.
Dana Gint, 9011 West Hawthorne Lane. I want to hand out these directives that have been spoken about at least 5 times by different citizens. I want to make sure you guys have copies because obviously you keep ignoring this.
Thank you, Dana.
Now I'm going to read them to you. They've been read a couple times, at least sections of them. Unfulfilled council directives, Wisconsin statute mayoral duties. When actions, and this is a comment, when actions of those elected to represent us are ignored, citizen representation fails to exist. The Franklin Council, our elected legislative officers passed 3 directions under Mayor Olson executive branch that are valid and required to be carried out under Wisconsin Statute 69.0208. These unfulfilled directives provide Mayor Nelson and the Common Council an opportunity and imposed obligation to fulfill the following directives. Number 1, the PDD 37 ordinance from 2018, Section 3 states the following. The applicant shall also provide a report to the Planning Commission after 1 year of occupancy permit of the new stadium to review the results of noise monitoring. Action required. Perform the overdue 1-year review to address concerns since the PDD adoption. Number 2, December 1st, 2020, Common Council motion directing the return of the planning manager Heath Eddy's report by February 2021 and steps to work with Milwaukee County on noise mitigation all have been ignored. Motion. Alderman Mayor moved to table this item and direct planning and engineering staff to consult with Milwaukee County regarding the comprehensive sound study that was approved by Milwaukee County for their 2021 budget and to review the parameters of the study in comparison to our needs and to possibly work with the county in setting parameters so that one study might meet all our needs and to bring a report back to the Common Council at the end of February 2021 or sooner as necessary for a study timing. Seconded by Alderman Barber. All voted aye. Motion carried. Action required. Fulfill the December 1st, 2020 Common Council directive to return planning manager Heath Eddy's report by February 21 and work with Milwaukee County regarding steps to mitigate the noise. That was also included in a letter that I copied Mayor Nelson on and Alderman Craig that we requested it be placed on this agenda. I believe there was 20 people on that letter. Again, we were ignored. Item number 3, the also overdue License Committee recommendations to the council as accepted by the Common Council minutes. Hold discussion of the fireworks display process for clarification and update from city attorney and hold discussion of extraordinary events for committee of the whole meeting on March 26, 2023. That never happened. Action required. Bring forth the License Committee recommendations accepted by the council to have the city attorney review those recommendations and to discuss events at the March 26, 2023 Committee of the Whole. None of those were fulfilled. They are open directives that can be taken on action by the Common Council immediately. This decibel chart, I just don't understand how things like this are not included in the packet. So on this chart, it says decibel levels. It says 80 decibels is very loud. This is what you guys are allowing at the property line to residential homes. Very loud. It is not acceptable. I appreciate that the council is finally recognizing neighborhood concerns and is proposing to find a solution to the noise problems. I believe it is important to point out that under the Franklin policy and procedures requirements on the city website, and I quote, any items scheduled on an agenda of a committee of the whole or common council must include as attachments any documents related to the subject matter. This policy shall apply to all city officials, both elected and appointed. So clearly, this chart, this packet should have been included on the packet so the public and media and anybody else could have this information. Therefore, it is clear that the council is to be supplied pertinent information related to each agenda item. The noise discussion has been before this body several times without information that could assist members in crafting decision-making solutions to the chronic noise nuisance crossing into surrounding areas. The lack of information also prevents the public from being able to respond or give input on the various agenda items. There are several items on this agenda itself that are not complying with this established policy, including undefined shared costs under item 7, no information under item number 1, which is the noise update, no information under item 18, which is the UDO. Those are in non-compliance with your own policies. Citizens have provided extensive information and research about the noise nuisance. We've pointed out errors in public documents, called your attention to outstanding unfulfilled motions like I just read, informed you of a required and yet lingering 1-year review within the PDD, repeatedly informed you about concerns from both of the former head planners' reports in 2018 and 2020 regarding that the incorrect decibel standards are being applied at the property line of this development. That was in 2018 and 2020. 500 events have occurred since then. Simply stated, the decibel level being used for this PD development at the property line is incorrect. This has been true for years. The custom zoning the Rock proclaims is for inside their zoning district, not at the property line and not spilling over into established residential zoning districts. Encroachment of noise beyond the property line is unacceptable, unethical, and negligent. Citizens did not ask for a zoning variance to have louder neighborhoods. Citizens lived in their homes for decades of quiet enjoyment before the city put the Rock next to us and allowed their noise to trespass for miles outside the property. The noise from the Rock needs to stay inside the property boundary. It needs to be reduced from its source until it is not disruptive outside the property. The Rock should be held to public statements and public documents presented at the city that, and I quote, an advanced technology to eliminate audible noise into surrounding neighborhoods would be used, and I quote, superior sound systems to minimize adverse impacts would be implemented, end quote. None of these representations and warranties included in public documents have been followed for this PDD, including that there will not be an adverse impact on adjacent properties and there will not be interference with the use of neighboring properties, and that the development will be in harmony with the surrounding areas and will not dominate the vicinity. I would like the common council members to supply
At
me.
5 minutes, just to let you know, you're at 5.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like the council members to supply me the established substantial evidence to indicate that these above requirements of development as required by the city regulations are being followed for this development. There are over 1,000 noise complaints that indicate otherwise. Elected officials tasked with governing require comprehensive information. For the noise issue, there is plenty of information demonstrating the magnitude of the noise producing activities that creates a chronic nuisance for numerous years for hundreds of events each year. We are all very tired of this problem. The oath of office as elected officials is to protect and promote the welfare of the community and its citizens. How can a nuisance property in violation of Chapter 178 be compliant with this requirement to protect the well-being of neighborhood citizens? The change in the surrounding environment, increased traffic, and other changes made to accommodate this development has drastically changed the lives of hundreds of families. Yet the main concern, as included in hundreds of complaints and public comments, continues to be the lack of city enforcement of clearly appropriate and long-standing noise standards for residential areas. The standard is, and has always been, set at the city ordinance of 50 decibels during the day and 45 at night at the property line to residential districts, which mirrors the noise standards of the World Health Organization, the Harvard Medical Journals, and numerous other scientific organizations. This 45 to 50 decibel standard of the property line is included in the Franklin Planning Manager reports of 2018 and 2020. Those are two separate planning managers. The present allowance being allowed by the city enables 29 to 34 decibels above these long-standing established standards that allows trespass into the residential neighborhoods, resulting in over 1,000 complaints. Clearly, the easiest solution is to apply the Franklin existing ordinance standards so that noise leaving the Rock fades out at the property line to match the long-established UDO standards for residential districts, which is exactly what the December 2020 Planning Manager report indicates, which citizens requested to be placed on this agenda as one of the unfulfilled directives and has been rejected. This change in reducing the decibel level would treat impacted residential areas the same as the other residential areas in our city. There's no denying the fact that the noise exceeds both Franklin and Greendale noise ordinances and is audible for 2 miles. This fact is documented in the 2023 County Sound Study, page 237. The problem is not the decibel levels inside the property or the stadium, but the noise that trespasses, encroaches, and spills outside the development and across the property line at levels incompatible with health and scientific data, and it violates the city's own laws as it relates to residential neighborhoods. Simply put, if the city genuinely wants a solution for the noise issues, what could be simpler than applying the equitable, reasonable, and already established noise ordinance standard that was put in place and applies to all other residential areas? In conclusion, I look forward to hearing the mayor's update, but I am skeptical when information is not provided or getting discussed or involves the impacted public in the required solutions. A handheld monitor does not address the decibel levels at the property line. Turning the speakers does not address the decibel level at the property line. Moving the monitors does not address the city following their own laws. This little chart does not comply with what we are looking for. The OSHA standards have ear protections. There is information that needs to be thoroughly reviewed, and citizens are trying to help the council by calling attention to the PDD in its entirety, audio and videotapes, meetings, applications, ordinances, regulations, warranties, representations, reports, policies, procedures that are all publicly available. Please include our input because this will support a more transparent and equitable solution to the noise issue. We have been harmed and continue to be harmed. Our quality of life is destroyed for hundreds of events for numerous years. Please do what is right over what is motivated by politics. Please do the right thing. Make a motion to enforce 50 decibels at the property line. If the council is not willing to do that, please have the unfulfilled directives and start following your own laws to protect residential districts. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak at this time?
Orville Seamer, 3020 West Acre Avenue. I will promise it will keep this less than 10 minutes. Here on item number F, the petition by Frank Ornelas. I've been helping Frank for about the last year or so, gathering records and pointing him in the right direction over the issue of speeding along Putes Road. But it's not just Putes Road, it's all of Franklin. And unfortunately, Milwaukee is terrible. What's going on in Milwaukee is just beyond belief. And I know it because I drive up and down Capitol Drive, the most dangerous street in the state of Wisconsin, 5 days a week. And I see it every day. That activity is spilling over into Franklin and other suburbs. So as residents of Franklin and the Common Council, and we have a mayor whose career is in law enforcement, we have an opportunity here to show Milwaukee and other suburbs how to tackle and take on this reckless and speeding driving problem. I would suggest you make this a major initiative and let the public know it, let the media know it, that you're going to do this. You're going to take on this reckless and speeding driving, and you're going to get it corrected. So I look forward to that press conference. And if the mayor has a press conference, maybe a dump truck won't run in the back of him. So thank you very much.
To clarify, Mr. Seamer, it's that's what happened to the Milwaukee police chief that was on the news. So he's not making a gesture that I get run over by a dump truck, I don't think, Orville, but never know. No, that's what happened to the Milwaukee chief. So we wish him well and wish him the best. Anyone else wishing to speak at this time, please come to the podium. Try to keep it 3 minutes, please.
My name is Jadwiga Brickel. I live at 3828 West Putes Road, next door to Frank, who has been working on this a lot. He's been over at our house a lot. He's been living here just about 35 years. We're 25 years at the same address. We have seen speeding. It is uncontrollable. Last winter, our mailbox got hit. The mail person got hit. Basically, one in the evening, one during the day. This year, first snowstorm, there along our gully or whatever you call it, from Frank's house, this far away from our mailbox, our ditch. Someone is speeding, loses control. I have called the police department, spoke to one of the officers early spring because we have a big yard. I go out, I try to rake, and I am afraid to rake my lawn because of the cars speeding. Not just morning, not noon, not night, all day long. That officer told me that the speed limit is 30 miles an hour. People are allowed to go 10 miles over. Really? I have never heard that before. When you come off of 27th Street down Putes Road, there's a sign up there, 30 miles per hour, radar enforced. What does radar enforced mean? Does it mean there's a police officer with radar waiting for speeders? Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I wasn't prepared to do this. I thought Frank was going to be here.
He's here.
Another quick, I'm going to be out of here real quick. 10, 15 years ago, there was a police officer who would come and park in our driveway, and he would catch speeders. Now there's nowhere to park on Putes Road for the police officers. There's Kayla's Crew Playground, 2 houses away from us. Those children are in danger. Something is going to happen out there. And when someone is killed because of speeding drivers, I guess you can all maybe remember Frank and all the letters he has sent you, and to the police chief. You all probably are familiar with Frank. But yeah, so I guess that's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Brickle.
Debbie Davis, 9460 South 96th Street. I appreciate everything everyone's had to say this far. I just want to say this whole reckless driving thing, it's like a national issue. I don't know what's going on, but on November 19th, there's a vigil for victims of reckless driving at All Saints Church on 25th and Capitol. I just want to put that out there. And then I had just 3 agenda things quickly. First, item E2, the appointment of Michael Shago to the Plan Commission. I just want to thank Mayor Nelson and Administrator Hirsch for convincing Mike to provide time to the Plan Commission. Mike is a business person and a civic leader and a wonderful neighbor. And my neighbors and I have tried to convince him to take on more municipal responsibility. We haven't been successful. So thank you. I hope you'll all approve his appointment. He'll be fantastic. Secondly, I'm confident. I really feel like this sound thing with the rock is going to resolve, but I do hope that, and I know the city attorney is looking at this, that we can, this 1-year review that we may do later with the PDD, that the solutions can maybe be embedded in that PDD so we don't continue to go back to the PDD and, whatever is going to make this issue final. And also, I agree that the open directives should be dealt with, but I'm especially interested in the recommendations from the licensing committee so that if there's problems with events in the future from any venue, any special event, it won't take so long to resolve. And third, I agree, I'd like a little bit more on the agenda when things like the UDO come up. A bunch of us have been nervous about the UDO and the lack of public input. And I know this administration is committed to public input. And I'd heard at one point that we're going to do the comprehensive planning process, which involves public input before the UDO is finalized. But I'd also heard the UDO is going to try and be finalized in December. So we get nervous if we just see that there's an update on a status update and we don't have more information. It makes us a little bit nervous. So I'm hoping that it's that there is a plan for public input in the comprehensive plan and the zoning changes for the UDO and other UDO issues. So those are my 3. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Mr. President?
Good evening, Mayor Nelson, council members. I'm Mike Sprague, President of the Franklin Board of Education. I'm here to advocate for item 7 on the agenda this evening, the installation of a traffic signal near the high school. At FPS, we talk frequently about being a better place to learn and work and part of a better community. We'd like to thank you for being an incredible partner in community building. We are proud of our growing partnership with the city. Safety is something that we speak of frequently, and traffic is an unfortunate or maybe fortunate byproduct of a growing city and school district. Our enrollment is up over 20% over the last 15 years. The high school has steadily grown and gotten a lot more traffic. And as one constituent put it, we should get this done before an accident demands it. Anyway, thank you for the partnership.
Thank you, Ms. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing no one. Closed citizen comment period. Go to item B2. Volition Franklin received the Blue Ribbon Award. If the group is up here and would like to speak on that and address it, it'd be excellent. Great thing for the city.
Hi, thank you. Megan Conway, I'm the Coalition Coordinator for Volition Franklin. We are very excited about this award. Volition Franklin is recognized as a Blue Ribbon Coalition. We are one of 15 coalitions across the country to receive this award. And we were invited to the White House by the Office of National Drug Control Policy to receive this award last week. Blue Ribbon Coalition are recognized for high-performing coalitions that create foundation for their work by updating and utilizing coalition products created by the coalition. This is a 2-year recognition, and hopefully it will open new doors for us as we are able to connect with other coalitions that receive this award across the country and be the role model for our local coalition in the prevention field.
Well, wonderful. While you're still there, would anybody like to say a few words or say anything on behalf of this? Alderman Barber, this is your kind of wheelhouse.
Volition Youth has recently also received an award, a recognition that I think should be mentioned as well. If you could just maybe speak to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of our youth leaders at the high school, Zaira Shaker, she was awarded at the state level for being an outstanding advocate from the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. So that was also something we had recognized at the last meeting, and she was a youth student that came with us to receive this award as well in Washington, D.C. She was one of 4 students that was invited to speak on a youth panel to talk about our coalition locally, the work that we've done both on the adult side, but specifically on the youth side of the prevention initiatives that we have put forth in Franklin. So she did a fantastic job. The recognition is very well deserved. She does fantastic work at the high school and also serves for a tobacco youth board as well in Wisconsin.
Thank you.
Excellent.
I'm proud to be a member of Volition. It was something that I was fortunate enough to get into early on in my aldermanic career, and it's been nothing but rewarding through this period. One of the things I'd like to mention that's upcoming is that I think we are 7 years or approaching 7th year of a 10-year grant. So the sustainability of Volition in Franklin is going to be something that is going to be looked at very seriously. And we'd appreciate any kind of support from the community, from the corporations as well, because it does serve a major role with our youth in being effective in the city.
Alderwoman Day.
Thank you. Yeah, I also want to echo my congratulations and to say that I'm also proud to be a member of Volition, as well as having to have helped lead when I was the health officer at the organization when Ellen previously had your role, Megan. So congratulations. And then also echoing what Alderman Barber just said, for those of you who aren't aware, Volition does encompass many, many different sectors of the community. So it's not just students and the health department. This is everything from banking institutions to healthcare to parents to anything you can think of in the community. There are representatives on this group all coming together for one common purpose to prevent substance misuse in youth. And from a public health standpoint, I think it's one of the gold standard programs that I can think of within the state and obviously within the nation. So congratulations, well deserved.
Alderman Holfer.
I'd just like to thank you and the rest of the group for what you guys do. It's important to the community. My kids were involved way back when it was the Youth Coalition, so a little bit of knowledge of what you guys do, but you don't always think about it. You really are providing a valuable service, an educational opportunity, and a resource that's badly needed in the community. So I congratulate you on your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll close. So, no, thank you for everything you've done. It's a lot of work. You've really put Franklin in the spotlight again. It was a wonderful thing. And I believe you mentioned you wanted to have a photo op up here with everyone?
If possible, yeah, we have a couple coalition members here with us. and
Oh,
would love to
excellent.
grab a-
Absolutely. If you, however you want to bring up, we'll come around in front and. You want everybody, right? Want to get all the elected stuff? Good. Absolutely. Why don't we go right in front here, right in front of this table? We'll all stand behind. Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Thank you, Rose. That was nice. Item C, approval of the minutes. Number 1 is regular common council meeting of October 17th, 2023. We'll do that one first.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. And move on to number 2, from the special common council meeting of October 25th, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Going to D as in David, hearings, we have none. Organizational business, we'll take these individually, please. Made the following appointments to common council, which we need confirmation. We'll go with a roll call vote. Number 1 is Gary Grosvenor, 11436.
Mayor, I
Oh.
have a question on that one.
I was going to do the discussion after, but
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Gary Grosvenor, 11436 West Shields Drive, District 6 Alderman Board of Water Commissioners, 5-year term expiring 9/30 of 2028. Discussion, Alderwoman Day.
Yes, I just had a quick question. As I saw that the next individual on here had their volunteer sheet in here, there was nothing for Mr. Grosvenor, so I was just wondering if I could get a little bit of background information on him for whoever has it.
The only thing I know about Mr. Grosvenor, other than him being on the Water Commissioners for at least a decade, 15 years? The Madam Clerk says 15 years.
So it's a reappointment?
It is a reappointment of Mr. Grosvenor? Sorry? She's saying 1999. So I'm not going to do the math, but 1999 is a long time. It's a long time. So I just know Gary, my aldermanic seat was 6 years and now mayor for 6 months. And those 6 years and 6 months dealing with Mr. Grosvenor, he's been a professional. He's been a great resource. He absolutely has the city of Franklin's best interest in mind. So that's why I look to reappoint Mr. Grosvenor. Is there a motion for this?
Motion. to
I will
approve.
second.
We have a first and a second. Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
6 ayes and no, motion carries. Camera, so it's on us. We'll go to number 2 is Mike Shago, 10250 West Ryan Road, Aldermanic District number 4, Plan Commission 1 year. The term expires in April 30th of 2024, April 30th. Mr. Schogel, 44-year resident, active member of the Franklin Lions Club, very active in our community. That's all I can
Move
say.
to approve?
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? See none, roll call vote, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Going on to F, letters and petitions. If Mr. Frank Ornelas, if he's still here, regarding special issues, the speed issues on Putes Road. Those have been obtained from Mr. Ornelas. I have spoken with Mr. Ornelas numerous times. I've also known him for many years. Mr. Barber.
I have been working with Frank as well on this for some time now, probably about the last 2 years at least. I also want to make note that the petition that was at our desk does not have the number of signatures that are in the packet. But Frank was able to go out and petition the neighbors and go up and down the street. I wouldn't advise him to do that ever, but he did it anyway to get the signatures and to bring it forward to us for some action. There's different kinds of options that are available here to resolve this issue. And I think at some point we have to sit down with signage as well as our police department to come up with what those options would look like to implement something that protects the neighbors, protects those going to Kayla's Park, and just in general makes a statement as to that we are enforcing our traffic laws in Franklin and not letting people just do what they want. So the whole idea is, I hope this sets up, or Frank hopes this sets up something that will be a process that others can be involved in and will act on, and with going into spring or sooner at this point. We need to do something. How do we address it? Let's look at what the options are and move forward.
Alderwoman Day.
Thank you. Mr. Ornelas was unable to stay for this part of the meeting, but he did provide all of us with a packet of information. So all of the alders, I did pass that out on his behalf to you before the meeting. So it's just for those of you who aren't aware of the issue, it gives kind of a brief summary of the things that he and the neighbors have documented going on in that area. As part of this overlaps my district as well, I've been in conversations with Mr. Ornelas for the last 6 months on this as well. So I echo everything Alderman Barber said and hope we can find something that can help these residents feel safer in their homes, as well as everybody that's attending these wonderful features that the city has.
Alderman Holfer.
To look at it as a little broader issue, as an alder, this is probably the #1 concern that I get. Complaints about speeding, failure to stop, reckless driving, even here in Franklin. It was about a year ago, I attended a meeting and suggested that the city put together a comprehensive plan to address this, similar to Mr. Seymour's point. And I think that's what it actually is going to take, a coordinated campaign of public awareness, increased enforcement to get this under control. So whatever we can do to support this, I'm all for it.
Okay, I'll just close out. I've spoken with Mr. Ornelas at length about this numerous times. I've spoken to Assistant Chief Learman. I've spoken to Chief Oliva. And, you know, in going on 30 years, I believe it has to be a very proactive response and approach to enforcement, for sure. Looking to also assist the officers. I'd like to see an inlet put in on the south side of the street leading into the wooded area, so a squad can, view, looking east, you can see the sign for people rolling through and failing to stop, as well as running laser effectively for east and west traffic. So I think that's going to be something I'll work with DPW on. I think that would be a very simple help to approach for enforcement, very proactive enforcement. You don't use aggressive, you say proactive. Okay, anything else on this? Oh, Tyler.
So I was just going to say, we placed this item on the Board of Public Works agenda for next Tuesday to discuss. They have that board has a lot of experience on signage and traffic calming measures that have been discussed in the past. So we we plan to kind of discuss it in depth there. So any of the residents who signed the petition or know of issues in this area are welcome to attend and share any information and kind of share in the dialogue.
Thank you, Tyler. I'm, oh,
Will there
Alderman
be an
Barber.
opportunity for them to speak at that? Like Frank could maybe be there for that?
Yep.
Plan commission would normally have, would they have citizen comments or is that?
Well,
something
Board of
that's-
Public Works next
Board of
Tuesday.
Public Works.
Yeah.
Yes, they can speak. That's
Generally,
fine.
we have
We open
public
it up.
comment period, but then we also.
So
allow
anybody
people
wishing to
bring the
attend
items.
and speak can come to that meeting and do that, do so.
Correct.
And I will let Mr. Ornelas know that as well. Okay? All right, thank you. Looking forward now to G1. So what I've kept this G1 moving forward with everything with noise, whether it's a few things to add, whether it's a little more in depth. And we are on a few things here, speaking with a representative from The Rock about moving that first sound meter that's on the west side that faces Hawthorne, or that's adjacent to the Hawthorne line. He's got a few different vendors that are going to look at getting that moved this month. We're working again with our IT department, which is finding out it's not as easy as we thought to have it put on our website for constant monitoring, but we will get it done. A couple of things to add to that. So this is our decibel reader. And once, this is brand new, we bought it and we put it into effect just for, just little training purposes. And our police department verified with Assistant Chief Learman tonight, they bought the exact same one. Very simple to use. And just during citizen comment period, it was averaging about 65 decibels from where I'm reading here to the podium. So what's nice is, and I understand that this is not the end all, and I don't plan it to be, but this is just one of those things that's one of the tools that we're going to use, one of the many tools we're going to use for measuring compliance, awareness, and factual data, as well as having those sound meters, those 3, calibrated and putting that everything on our website. So at any point in time, somebody can click on it and see where they're at now. We can also have a history. And I believe it'll be the first one in December. We should have a better update as far as where we're at with our IT person, and as far as he'll explain how it's going to work on our website. We will have more right now. We're going to have our city attorney, like as we talked to a city attorney, director of administration, member of The Rock, initially putting together with the information. And we've gotten a lot of information from the neighbors. Ms. Gint and the neighbors have provided a lot of information. That information will be used. This is the first steps. We're going to be bringing this to council. The council as a whole will be involved in all the further future steps as this progresses. It's going to be everyone up here. It's going to be open. Everyone's going to know exactly what the plans are, where we're going. It's going to be a fluid and moving document as we move forward. It's not, anything is not done in the closed door realm, but we're just trying to get all our paperwork and everything organized, and we move forward. And there's a lot of information. There's a lot of great information that was shared, and it continues to be shared, and we take it and we use it, and that will be part of the solution. So obviously we call it a solution piece. And the piece that Dana was talking about that wasn't on its own standalone agenda item tonight, that's the document that will be part of the solution. So that's where we're going with that. So I guess I'm making it brief because right now that's all I really have. But moving forward, we're going to keep this on the G1 part, and we're going to get this done. We're going to get it done. It's going to be done right, and we will put this to bed. Mr. Barber.
One of the things I've been thinking about and listening to everybody over the time, over, the last few years, is there any way that we can create a new special events document that has the specific ordinances laid out that would be initialed and what the penalties are for violation of those specifics, like the 45 and 50, have that detailed in the actual document that is brought forward that they agree to and sign off on, and for any special event that's coming up? I think that might be a suggestion that I'd like to make, to say that given the ordinances that we have right now, in order for you to get this, you have to sign off that you will be in compliance, and these are the penalties that you face if you're not. So I think that starting off with that document and rewriting it to be more inclusive and more comprehensive is to meet the needs of the community as well as the neighbors. I think we should probably look at that as well. And that's would be my suggestion.
And I agree with you, and I think one of the things that we're looking at too is accountability. So what happens when you do violate this? Well, what happens? Is it a letter? Is it a fine? You know, is it a citation issued? You know, we need to have a lot more direction and clarity as far as accountability goes with that. Alderwoman Day, were you up next?
Sure, I can go. Sort of on this vein, and this might not be anything that you have the answers to, but I just want to put it out there for the record. And if you don't have the answers, hopefully we can get them either via email or something in the near future for myself and some of the other constituents that are in the audience this evening. Have there been valid complaints against the Rock and Ballpark Commons for the events of Tacos and Tequila and Hills Have Eyes that have violated either the noise threshold or the time duration? Have there been verified complaints on either of those two events?
I can't answer if there's been verified complaints. I know there were some complaints with Tacos and Tequila about noise. Did it go over the time threshold? I don't know. Was it over it? Regulo, if you'd like to approach, and I believe that's on live.
Excuse me, Mayor, open for discussion, but we were told at the meeting previous to that the noise should not leave the stadium, let alone hit our property lines. If it's 100 miles away, how is that not allowed?
Well, okay, so we're not going to debate, but I will address this right now, sir, is that I know for a fact that when we were told the same thing, that it wasn't the Rock sound system. Okay, it was the other company that came in. Is it an excuse? No, but what I'm telling you is what I was told and what I was, okay, so we're going to rehash this until we're blue in the face, but it's going to be fixed. It's not going to happen next year. Okay, we are this, it has to be fixed. It has to be addressed. And that's what we're going to deal with for sure, because we were told that it was not going to leave the bowl. We were all at the meeting. It wasn't going to leave the bowl. It's a whole different sound system and how it's going to be impacted. So I know that was there. It was an outside sound system that came in with this group. And that's all I know for sure on that. Regular, you have the floor.
Good evening. Regulo Martinez, Principal Planner with the Department of City Development. Yes, notice of violation was issued for the Hills Has Eyes event because exceeded the hours of operation, specifically music after midnight, approximately 12:30.
Okay. And I believe I saw that letter that went out. My question is, is it just a warning letter, or what is our current process? Because I'm continuing to get phone calls from residents there saying that we haven't done anything to enforce the Hills Have Eyes violations that did occur. So I'm trying to figure out if we followed all of our protocols, or if there's like a step process and it's, a warning letter, and then the next time it happens, it's a citation. What is the process, and where are they in terms of how many strikes they received?
Correct. Yeah. The standard enforcement process, not only for the Rock issues or any zoning or violation, is we send a notice of violation if there is evidence of violation. So we send the notice of violation, give a time to the property owner, typically 30 days. And if the violation persists, then we send the citation, and the case goes to municipal court.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm not going to belittle the point. It gives me food for thought for, how we can improve this going forward. I echo Alderman Barber's suggestion that there may need to be changes to the special event application to kind of outline this in more detail. Thank you. I yield.
Stay right there, please. Alderman Holtfer first.
Yeah, I can see where for the kind of events we're talking about, 30-day thing to see if it persists isn't going to work. So that'll need to change for sure. But also what we should look at is when we have major events, and I would consider Tacos and Tequila a major event. When the sheriffs were there, the police department was there, tons of people, similar to Enchant Christmas. I think those events that take that much planning and effort should at least be a 3-month in advance application. so that everybody's got time to review, to ask questions, and to get the answers before we have to do it. To 30 days on a major event like that, I just don't feel is adequate.
I agree with you, Alderwoman Eichmann.
I just wanted to add, I feel that we're echoing what has been being discussed for the past several meetings, that we're going to be revisiting this again in January. We could spend all night going over and over this again, but is that, to my understanding, is that correct, Mayor, that come January, we will?
Well, we're going to be doing much more prior to January, but we're looking at the simple ordinance itself for the duration of an event.
Okay.
So we're going to be looking at a number of things, and this is how we're going to bring all this together, and as a group, we're going to come with the solutions. And we're going to come with the solutions, you know, in that transparent way, which shows everybody we've taken the concerns, we know the issues, and we have to deal with them.
Also, I wanted to add in, when it was said that Hill Has Eyes had violations, to my understanding, there was one violation. If I'm incorrect, someone.
I only heard of
but
one.
One violation.
We have not suspended the rules for, citizen comment period has ended. So unless the mayor wants to
Correct.
suspend the rules for a
No, we're not
citizen
gonna
to
suspend
speak, we have 25 items on the agenda this evening. So
So, Mr. Martinez, just to echo Alderman Eichmann, I believe there was one formal that was till 12:30. But we have to also remember that the umbrella bar can stay open until bar time. So the umbrella bar can operate. So, I mean, you're not going to hear a church mouse, you're going to hear something because there's still an active bar up there that can operate legally. So it's not just everything hammer, hammer, hammer. They've got a right to be open and conduct a business as long as it's working within their, the noise. Anything else in this? If not, we're going to move to two. Oh, Mr. City Attorney. Oh,
Just questions for Mr. Martinez. I believe we had a conversation because I heard citizen comments a few meetings ago about how the special events ordinance was supposed to be under review by the city attorney, as well as some noise ordinance. And I believe after I looked through all the records of license committee and council, that ultimately it all ended up before this council on May 2nd, where you presented 3 items, and it was the overview and presentation regarding noise regulations, as well as enforcement procedures, and regarding temporary uses and extraordinary entertainment and special events. And on my double check with you, there was nothing left on my list with regard to doing those items. Your department has been driving it. Now we're all going to work together on this. But do you recall that conversation?
I recall that committee of the whole meeting in May. That was like an informative session, but I don't recall any formal motion or direction.
Well, the motion was to direct those 3 items back to staff for further clarification and bring back to the council. That was the item. But my point was, I don't remember ever not completing anything the city attorney was directed to do, including all the directives, including going back to the 2020 noise item at the December meeting. There was a motion to table this item and direct planning and engineering staff to consult with Milwaukee County regarding the comprehensive study, et cetera, and to return back to the council. So, all right, well, if you're not remembering that phone call.
Yeah, I don't recall.
We'll deal with it. We'll address it.
Yeah, we're going to work on it, but just wanted to state that. I've heard that twice, and then I make notes, and I know I went through all the records after I first heard that at a meeting. So,
Okay, there's no further action on this. Moving forward to item G2. Finance Director, a resolution awarding the sale of $2,395,000 general obligation promissory notes, Series 2023B as in boy. Madam Finance Director. Oh, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Just don't. No, you're good. Stop. You've got the floor.
Okay. So the Common Council approved the resolution 2023-8045 authorizing the sale of this note. It has changed a little bit, and I will have our finance advisor Ellers, I believe Todd and Ariana are here today to present the award that was done today.
Good evening, welcome. Good you grabbed
This
the
is
chair.
for both
Tyler, could you move your mic over there?
2023A and the 2023B bonds.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Ariana Schmidt. I know Todd. Oh, is this on?
It's on, just pull it like karaoke.
How's that? Better? All right. Good evening. My name's Ariana Schmidt. I work at Ellers with Todd here as well. I know Todd spoke to you guys about this previously, but we're here today to present the sale results. So if you turn to page 3 of the presentation document, I believe they have it right there now. The PowerPoint document is what I'm referring to. It is.
I just have it up here.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. All right. So we are on, page 2. Sorry about that. Of our bid results. So there are 2 debt issues that we performed today. The first one is our 2023A bonds. This is our general obligation bonds to support 2 different purposes. We had 6 bids come in today. Bayard was the lowest bidder at 4.27%. Our pre-sale estimate was 4.28%, so right around on par as to what we were estimating. Can go to the next slide, please. So as a result of our sale today, we were able to downsize the initial issuance by $80,000. So our total bond size today is $5.97 million. This was a result of a reduced cost of issuance as well as a premium reoffering.
And I'll just say that this is for item G3. This is for item G3. I think she's just going to go through both of them at the same time, but they're 2 different resolutions.
Yes, thank you. All right, and as a result of this sale today, our final principal and interest is just under 8.8 million, so came in about $12,000 lower than our pre-sale estimate. All right, and our second issue is our 2023B notes. Again, we had 6 bidders. Our winning bidder today was our TD Securities at 3.8769%. Our initial pre-sale estimate was 3.82%, so slightly higher, but due to the Fed last week deciding not to raise interest rates, it did not go up as high as it had been previously. Todd, do you have anything to add?
No, go ahead.
Okay. And again, we were able to downsize this issue. This one we were able to downsize by $45,000, again, due to a reduction in cost issuance as well as a premium reoffering. So our total bond size is $2.35 million. And again, our principal and interest did go down by about $13,000. So today our final principal and interest is $2,813,887. And then as a part of our sale today, we did go through a credit rating review with Moody's, and they did affirm your rating at AA2, which is excellent. This is their scorecard that just overviews the various factors that they factor into their methodology. You'll see most of the categories are AAA or AA rated, and then there are just a couple that are rated at A. So tonight, our ask of you is for item on the agenda 2 and 3 for approval of both the resolutions. Todd?
And I would just note, as you make the motion, note that the par amounts of the bonds are different than what is on the agenda, so you should reference that figure on the slide.
And those are the 2 resolutions that I provided you in the beginning, are the new amounts.
Okay, so the revised on here is what you handed out here?
Correct.
Yes.
And the resolutions are all, in all respect, the same as the draft you saw. The simply update is to fill in the blanks, the purchaser, the interest rate, final maturity schedule, and so forth.
Okay, with this,
Is there an entertained motion for this? Anybody on the finance committee? We've got, Yusuf, we've got
Second.
we have a first and a second on G2. See no further
Is
discussion.
awarding the sale of the 2.35 million.
Not the 2.395.
Correct.
That's what I wanted. That was my question.
Yes.
Just so it's clear for the record what that number is.
Yep.
Can you say a little louder into the mic, please, so we can...
So G2 is adopting the resolution awarding the sale of 2,350,000 general obligation promissory notes, the Series 2023B.
Thank you. That's the first and a second. Second. See no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah, we'll do a roll call for G2 and G3.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
And Alderman Craig.
Aye.
6 ayes, no, motion carries. Moving forward to item G3. Anything more to add on that, or are we just gonna change the numbers, right?
Correct.
And that number is?
It's a motion to adopt a resolution awarding the sale of the $5,975,000 general obligation corporate purpose bond Series 2023A.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. The roll call vote, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
And Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to G4, a resolution conditionally approving a 3-lot certified survey map being a redivision of all of the west 1/2 of the southwest 1/4 of section 22, township 5 north, range 21 east, city of Franklin, Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, and also including the north 120 feet of the south 180 feet of the east 200 feet of the west 260 feet of the southwest 1/4 of section 22 in township 5 north, range 21 east, city of Franklin, Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, by Alex Scheller, Karma Laboratories, Inc., applicant Karma Laboratories, Inc., property owner, 9410 South 76th Street and 7520 West Bryan Road. Good evening, Marion X.
Good evening, Mayor. If I may, I'd like to canvass items G4, G5, and G6, which are all related to this development proposal in a single presentation, which I'm hoping the city clerk has available for me. Thank you. This application is a request for a group of development proposals related to the Carmex factory relocation here in the city of Franklin, and that would be wonderful if I could have the mouse. Thank you. And so in order to have a complete understanding of the items before you today, it's helpful to discuss them as all three at the same time. It should be noted that a site plan related to this development was conditionally approved at the Plan Commission meeting on October 19th, pending these approvals, because it would not be possible to develop as the site plan prescribes without these approvals. So this application is a request for redevelopment approvals related to 9410 South 76th Street and 7520 West Ryan Road. 9410 is the large lot, and 7520 is this very small lot in the corner. These properties are currently zoned R8 multifamily residential and B3 commercial. The applicant is seeking an approval for the development of a new headquarters. This is a consolidation of several facilities that are currently located in the Franklin Business Park, and it requires a certified survey map, which is a type of land division, taking these two lots and splitting them into a new configuration of 3 parcels, a rezoning of all 3 of the created parcels. So you will note that there's some blanks in the rezoning because the certified survey map number is to be determined based on any approvals that occur here. And then a special use request for overnight truck parking for the Carmex facility. So the current area of these parcels is 41.39 acres, and the surrounding future land use and land uses are, the surrounding land uses are agricultural and institutional. To the east, this is county-owned land. There is a park to the north, the Croatian soccer facility, single-family home zoning of greater and lower density, B3 commercial zoning, M1 industrial zoning, and also R8 zoning. On the map, you see depicted C1 zoning. That is a designation of natural resources in our map that is no longer existing in the text, but it's worth noting that there are natural resources on the property, and I'll discuss that in greater depth shortly. So the applicant is proposing a 2,500 square foot, or excuse me, 225,000 square foot office and manufacturing building consisting of a single-story structure with approximately 30,000 square feet of office space and the remainder manufacturing space. It's also going to include 250 parking spaces. We will take a look at the site plan as we discuss the special use, but bear in mind that those approvals are already conditionally granted. So again, this is a land division rezoning special use permit for this site. So with regards to the land division, a certified survey map is what's required. This is a document that will be recorded with the Milwaukee County Register of Deeds pending your decision or recommendation on it. The applicant is proposing 2 smaller lots on the southern portion of the property with the future commercial zoning that they're requesting this evening, and 1 larger lot to the north. There are a number of requirements related to the certified survey map that the applicants have generally met. So they meet the requirements of the zoning district in terms of the dimensions of the lots and the information provided through the CSM. I will note that there are requirements for easements. Planning has a number of easements related to development that are required through this. So as you know, Ryan Road is here. And then 76th Street is here. Commercial zoning typically requires cross access. So there are privately recorded easements that the applicant is responsible for producing that will be required prior to recording of this easement or this certified survey map. And then also because of the presence of natural resources, including a wetland complex and a woodland complex on the property, conservation easements will be required. And also, because of the difference in zoning, landscape buffer yard easements are required. So specifically, there's been some discussion of the easement along the north edge of the property. Those are required to be recorded as part of this review and acceptance process. So there are some dedications to the city and to the county on, or I'm sorry, both to the county. There's dedications of property on this certified survey map, a 5-foot strip along the southern portion of the existing lots, and then a 65-foot strip along the western portion on 76th Street. So with that, we are moving on to the discussion of the zoning. So you saw the land division proposed. All of these lots do meet the dimensional requirements, but as you see, there's kind of a mixture of zoning on the properties. So in order to illustrate that, this is the existing zoning, multifamily residential, and then B3 commercial. Can I go back? I do want to note that there was a public hearing on this matter at Plan Commission, and there were some comments from the community. Specifically, there were concerns about the impact of traffic and noise on and pedestrian safety. The applicant was requesting, or the commenter was hoping that there would be sidewalks provided, and also requesting a truck approach from Highway 100. So this is something that the same comments were also offered related to the special use, because the proposed zoning will allow for trucking on the lot with M1. But they generally were asking for things to mitigate nuisances related to that zoning type. So that information was provided in your council action sheet. So the proposed lots, as we discussed, there's the 2 commercial lots at the bottom and then M1. So the existing zoning immediately to the west of these lots is also B3. This was a staff recommendation that this commercial zoning be consistent along this strip, as it's consistent with the future land use for the site and the surrounding uses. And then the M1 zoning is proposed. It's required to be M1, as M2 is not possible due to the facility's location among less intense uses. So the proximity of residential uses to the west and a park to the north mean that it can't be M2 general industrial, which allows for much more intense uses. And there is a list of the use categories provided to you in your packet. So I gave you what's called the district standard sheets, which provide information about the types of uses that are allowed at this location. So those broadly fall into 2 categories. A permitted use is a use that would be in that table listed with a P. What that means is that an applicant requesting to be in that zoning district, start a business in that location or move into a new location, would have to demonstrate that they meet the requirements and fall under that category of business type. And then it is an administrative approval to allow for that business type. So in the case of the applicant's business category, they are in the P category of a permitted use in M1 zoning. So the special use that we'll be discussing shortly is not for their use type, it's for overnight truck parking. So that's something to be aware of, that all of the P uses on that list are currently allowed in M1 zoning. Special use items in that category of M1 zoning are allowed as a special use. So what that means is that if someone wants to do something that is in some way unusual, there are essentially performance standards that are required under our ordinances. We refer to the general standards, which are provided as part of their subsequent special use application, asking about the level of impact on the surrounding area. So uses that are allowed as a special use are allowed at that location as long as the applicant is able to meet the requirements of the zoning. So again, for M1, it is a zoning that's present in the area, and it's a future land use that aligns with the existing location of Carmel Labs. The future land use here is commercial, and likewise commercial at this location, but it is something to bear in mind that those use types will be allowed at that location. So M1, based on its location among less intense uses. I do also want to touch on a couple of other discussion points with this. So the proposed development will relocate and combine multiple facilities and approximately 310 jobs from within the existing Franklin Business Park to this location, and retain Carmel Labs in Franklin by allowing them to consolidate. They have a special use request related to this, but it is not related to their zoning. So any use that is allowed as a special use under Wisconsin Act 67, if an applicant is able to or agrees to meet all of the requirements and conditions under what are currently our general standards in the ordinances, then they must be granted a special use approval. So it is important to know that while there may be sufficient cause to deny a special use, as long as the applicant is able to meet reasonable conditions related specifically to that use, the Common Council must grant the approval. So we will be talking about their special use in a moment, but in terms of the zoning, all of the S category uses are also allowable uses as long as an applicant can meet the requirements. So in this case, we have an applicant before us and a proposed special use, but it is, again, important to consider that when discussing a rezoning. So I will also note that this parcel is currently zoned R8 multifamily residential district. There are very few parcels currently vacant in the city that currently allow for that type of development. And the future land use map does not contemplate adding a lot more of them. So you will be taking approximately 40 acres of multifamily development off of the table, but if you choose to authorize this rezoning. So all of those things should be considered. And then with regards to lot 2 and 3, I'm happy to answer any questions about that. But the certified survey map and the rezoning together result in 3 new parcels with some of the same use types allowed, and then a new business type that has similar business types nearby. And I'm going to move on to the special use, but if there are any questions at this time, I'm happy to entertain those now, or I can canvass the special use and then come back to this.
I would like to do the special use and we'll come back for any questions.
Perfect. Okay. So the special use is related to overnight truck parking. So the city's ordinances have a restriction that trucks over 8,000 pounds may not park overnight without this type of approval. That's to limit impacts to the neighborhood. And so the applicant has made a request for overnight truck parking. We have a number of recommended conditions related to that request because there are residential and other lower impact, lower classes of uses nearby. And so this special use is applicable to the lot 1 only of the proposed special use. So any applications for uses for business types in lots 2 and 3 will require their own requests for use approval, whether it's through a zoning compliance or a special use application. They will need to do separate permitting. And there was a public hearing at Plan Commission related to this. There was one resident who discussed his concerns about the impact that traffic would have on the neighborhood. So those comments have been shared with you again in your packet. And so with regards to this, although the site plan has already been approved, there are some key issues related to the siting of overnight truck parking that are up for discussion as part of the use approval. And I want to clarify some confusion that was the result of some of the design of the building. So what you see here is the site plan as proposed. This is a conceptual site plan. You have this way is north, so landscaping buffer yard here. The applicant will be providing additional landscape screening here. This yellow arrow indicates the area where the overnight truck parking is being requested. So this is the only portion of this lot where overnight truck parking is being requested. Here we have employee parking for the employees of the facility, and there is an additional parking area and garage entrance here. This is a private entrance for the owners of Karma Labs and is not part of this request. So there is in fact a recommended condition of approval that particular portion of the site not allow for overnight parking outside of this office and garage area located on the southwest corner so that it does not impinge on the neighbors. So the special use conditions that are recommended are to provide significant screening of all truck parking areas. So again, that landscape buffering to the north, and that it not be visible from the public right-of-way or from another lower use district. Another less intense use district, so the park. And then also that this office parking area may only be used for parking and loading related to the office uses of the building. So I'd like to show you just a little bit more. So this is the office area, proposed landscaping buffer here. There is an expansion area that's contemplated in the future here, so that would potentially provide additional screening to the overnight park area. And then these are the facades. So this is the area, the north facade, and the area that would have that parking, the bump out at the back of the building. And then with the western elevation, this elevation is includes the parking area for the private offices. So with that, I also note that there was the previously conditionally approved site plan. And I'm happy to entertain questions about all aspects of this application. The applicants are also here as well. So thank you.
I'd like to start by saying thank you, Marion. You did an excellent job. I mean, you really did. You put a lot of work into this. Very good, excellent details on this. I've spoken to the representatives from Karma that are have voiced their satisfaction with you and everything you've done. And I can say, working with you with all this, it's been a long road to get here, and you did an excellent job. Just to reiterate that the truck overnight parking there will be no idling.
You could ask to add an additional condition of approval to
But
the.
my understanding is, I mean, I'm repeating I'm just saying for anyone else, that there will be no idling of trucks overnight. I mean, that was part of the thing that was a big deal with one gentleman. And I understand Karma Labs, that yes, it's not going to be a thing, because people are wondering, what about the overnight idling? And there is going to be none.
My understanding, and there is not a condition in the current resolution about this, was that the truck parking is actually for the trailer itself and not the
Not the tractor part.
tractor part.
It's the trailer, correct.
So.
All right, Mr. Holfer.
Thanks, Marion. On the picture where you had the yellow arrow, the box it was pointing to, is that to scale approximately the size of what the trailers would be?
Sorry, this is not the way I normally navigate. We're talking about, so this is their proposed site plan.
Well,
So.
You had another one
one
where it
more.
was dark, but that area in general,
There you go.
yes.
Yeah, so this is their site plan drawing. I mean, to scale, I can't vouch for the scale on the screen, but this
I mean,
is.
approximately.
Yeah. This is approximately, so this being 76th Street, the lot actually continues down here, but yeah.
And
So
then
it's-
at some time, if and when they do that expansion to the north, the truck parking wouldn't be seen by anyone anyway, correct?
This is conceptual only, but what's proposed here conceptually is what they're proposing. So they could do it larger or smaller and would have to come back for a site plan amendment to do that. That would be heard by Plan Commission. So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Barber.
Just a couple questions on I understand that it's just going to be the trailers. Will there be trucks moving them in and out all night long and shifting them around or unloading and loading? And will there be truck trafficking coming in to the place at night? And will the parking area require special lit areas or special lighting to highlight the area? What will be the activity there at night is what I'm asking. And
We've got a gentleman here from Karma. Please, if you'd like to
Yep.
join us at the table. We'll get you a chair.
And I'll quickly address the lighting plan does meet the standards of the UDO, so there is a requirement that they have a limit on the amount of light that is in different parts of the site plan at the property line. So I recognize that doesn't address the question of headlights, but the lighting for the area itself does meet the industrial requirements of the UDO.
So good evening. I'm Alex Scheller. I'm the representative from Karma Labs. Our corporate office currently is at 5801 West Airways Avenue in Franklin. Could you repeat your first question? I think it was regarding activity of trailers.
Movement of the trailers at night as they get loaded? Are you going to be shifting them around, moving them around? Will they be in and out of the grounds in any way? I mean, I'm just wondering what the effect will be after, say, 10 o'clock.
Great, thank you. Great question. No movement of the trailers in the evening. The trailers are moved in and out during normal shipping hours, which is during first shift activities, typically Monday through Thursday.
And you don't anticipate any light overflow going on because of where the trailers will be parked?
We do not.
Thank you. Why don't you just stay there for a minute? Anyone else while we're in question mode? All right, with that, there's quite the motion here on 4. Marion, if you wouldn't mind reading the motion, because you've got a perfect radio voice for this.
Want to drink?
Better than mine. I'm dry. My water's out, so.
If you keep making me laugh, I won't be able to do it. A motion to adopt a resolution conditionally approving a 3-lot certified survey map being a redivision of all of the west 1/2 of the southwest 1/4 of Section 22, Township 5 North, Range 21 East, City of Franklin, Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, and also including 120 feet of the south, 180 of the east, 200 feet of the west, 260 feet of southwest 1/4 of Section 22, Township 5 North, Range 21 East, City of Franklin, Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, by Alex Scheller, Karma Labs, Inc., applicant, Karma Laboratories, property owner.
Move to approve.
Second.
Hopfer and Eichmann. Yeah, well, I'll do a roll call on this, please.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye. 6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Now, because you discussed them, do you need to add anything more for 5, or are we going right into question and motion mode? I think you covered.
If there are additional questions about, so the certified survey map recommendation, you've approved it. Now we move on to the rezoning. If there are additional questions about it.
Seeing none, would you please read the motion?
A motion to adopt an ordinance to amend the Unified Development Ordinance or zoning map to rezone Lot 1 of certified survey map number to be determined from R8 Multifamily Residence District to B3 Community Business District, or I'm sorry, R8 Multifamily Residence District and B3 Community Business District to M1 Limited Industrial District and lots 2 and 3 of certified survey map number to be determined to B3 Community Business District, property located at 9410 South 76th Street and 7520 West Ryan Road by Alex Scheller, Karma Laboratories, Inc., Karma Laboratories property owner.
So moved.
Second. First and a second. See no further discussion. Roll call, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman. Aye. And Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. Going to item G6, which you covered pretty well. We can do the same way if there's any questions on this.
Regarding the special use for overnight truck parking.
I think those questions were answered. Would you please read the motion?
A motion to adopt a resolution imposing conditions and restrictions for the approval of a special use for overnight truck parking for vehicles exceeding 8,000 pounds manufactured gross vehicle weight as part of the development of a single-story building housing offices and manufacturing facilities, Karma Laboratories, upon property located at 9410 South 76th Street by Alex Scheller, Karma Laboratories, Inc., applicant, Karma Laboratories, Inc., property owner.
Move to approve.
Second.
We got Hopfer and Eichman, first and the second. Seeing no further discussion, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
And Alderman Craig.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Excellent job again, Marion. Very good job. Congratulations. Good seeing everyone. Turning over the mouse, kind of a big deal. Item G7, a resolution for R.A. Smith, Inc. to provide traffic signal and roadway design improvement services for a traffic signal at South 51st Street and South Preserve Way for $43,500.
Motion to approve.
Oh,
Second.
Option A and B.
holy, hold on a minute here. So we got a first and a second for option A
And B.
and B. Yeah, we're going to go into that,
Okay.
please, and then we're going to have some discussion. I think Mr. Hopfer was up. So option A. For the, okay, well, why don't we start with this? Mr. Hopfer for discussion. We have a first and a second discussion.
First of all, I have no opposition to putting the lights and enhancing the safety at all. Where I have a problem with it is signing a document that it says it's going to be a cost share. We don't know what the percentage of that cost share is. We also don't know what the total amount will be. And it says that if both parties agree, the scope of work could be changed without changing the memorandum of understanding, and that this was just brought to the council basically today, and yet funds were evidently allocated in the capital improvement budget some time prior. So I guess I have a problem wondering, did the school ask us to pay? Did we volunteer to pay for part of it? I understand you want to have a better working relationship with the school district, which is great, but let's define what a good working relationship is going to look like. I've got a project that the school is doing on next to the ECC building, and I've got residents that have asked for certain things to be taken care of. They've made some minor adjustments with things like a fence and some plantings and such, but they're saying they can't move the driveway that's objectionable, but yet we're going to turn around and potentially spend $250,000 when we're cutting budgets and taking things away. There's no description of, if this is coming out of our capital improvement budgets, what other things are we not doing because we're spending those funds? My preference would have been, rather than a private meeting where this is agreed to, then brought to the council and say, you know, here it is, let's approve this, I got the money in the budget. I would have rather seen an honest, open discussion asking the council, what are we looking for in a relationship? How can we make this go forward? My most important thing is I don't sign a document that I don't know what the numbers are that I'm signing and what that reimbursement is going to be.
Well, I'll address part of that first. And if there's a representative from the schools here, if you'd like to approach here and come on up, and as I start talking about this, the on its face agreement or partnering is, how can we, on the city side of this, invest money on the light without having to take care of any maintenance, upkeep, things like that. I guess if you'd like, we could refer it back, where we can have more of a time for you to review the document, discuss the document. We could actually have another meeting if you'd like. We can have it here with the school. They can put forth their plan and have it more out there. I agree with the costs aren't definite yet, but that's my opinion for now. But sir, if you'd like to just say your name and school address and position.
Yep, I'm Andy Cromie, Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations for the school district. District office is 8255 West Forest Hill. This project actually has been requested numerous times, long before my tenure. I've been with the district for about a year and a half, but numerous times, probably over the past decade. Driving by the high school any given morning or any given afternoon, you will see students playing Frogger coming from the subdivision to the west, trying to get across, with cars not really caring a whole lot about who is trying to walk, or whether other cars are in the way or not. I know the problem of speeding was addressed tonight. I'm not necessarily saying that they're speeding, they're just not paying attention to what's going on around them. We have, again, 20-some buses in the morning. We probably have 700 students who are driving, and then we have parents who are dropping off as well. So this creates a little bit of chaos at the site that the stoplight would certainly help us mitigate to some degree. Again, it's really a safety concern for individuals and drivers in that particular area. So out of our introduction meeting with the mayor, this was just a topic that was discussed and started down the pathway of how could we make this work. So from our side, we haven't necessarily talked about it with our school board either in any formal fashion. In part of a working relationship, and in having worked in other school districts where cities and school districts work together pretty in sync, this is a very not formal, but a very normal way that I've operated with school districts, as we try to figure it out, and then we go to our respective councils or our respective school boards, and we talk about the details at that time, knowing we have some agreement. Whether those details stay exactly as they were based on the different boards, that's each individual item is a little bit different. But this is really a stepping stone towards us working together, as coming together on a joint project that involves safety, which is probably one of the top things that both of us have to encounter in any given situation.
Thank you. Alderwoman Eichman.
Thank you. A few things I just wanted to bring across. One question you just answered. So this has not been brought in front of the school board at all. This is new to us tonight, so
Yeah, we have not formally discussed an MOU with the city, with our school board president here tonight. He's aware of the situation, aware that we've talked about it before, but we haven't asked for formal action for that.
thank you for that clarification. Also, not that I'm not opposed to this, the mayor and I each attended Franklin High School. Traffic was bad then. I have 2 elementary schools in my district that every day, pretty much Monday through Friday, I'm receiving calls from concerned parents around Robinwood and so forth of, many traffic concerns. Unfortunately, it's not new, just in front of any school in the city of Franklin. But another thought too is, has a Safe Routes to School grant been looked into at all?
So a safe route to school grant has not been looked into, but they often require walking zones to be made. And Franklin does not have safe walking zones to their schools, meaning sidewalks. Ben Franklin would be the only one with a small amount of sidewalk that actually attaches to a school.
Robinwood. a little
So I don't believe Robinwood, maybe on the, I guess on the south side has a sidewalk that could get there. But of any magnitude, I've dealt with the Safe Routes to School in Oak Creek. And that actually was applied for by the city. But we had significant walking zones around our school districts to provide us, I think it was a few $100,000 of funding for potential projects of all sorts of markings on the roadways for crosswalks. But anything major that was done by the city and school in partnership.
Thank you. Another thought too, has it been looked into at all aside of putting up the stoplight, the push button crosswalk idea?
So we have those existing, and even with lights on, people are cruising right through.
Because another concern that I have as well is, unfortunately, I personally feel that sometimes stop signs and stoplights give a false sense of security. That high school students are going to be leaving, running across 51st Street and think, oh, the light's red, we don't have to watch for traffic. And unfortunately, it's a false sense of security.
Well, we haven't had a student hit yet, so I would say our students are doing fairly well at,
As a proud graduate of Franklin High School, I hope we never do.
yeah, I would say our students are doing fairly well looking out for cars. This is more of a deterrent for cars to continue to cruise through the light. Not that we wouldn't continue to remind students that you need to look both ways to cross the road, but an avenue to help with the traffic of the physical traffic of cars as well.
No, I appreciate the clarification. When you mentioned that students are basically playing frog or going across 51st Street, that's kind of what made me think of that.
Yeah,
There's students that are.
I'd like to say that that's a joke, but really it's like sometimes they're coming across and backing out and then trying to make it again.
I appreciate your time and the clarification. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Alderman Barber?
I very seldom get contacted from my districts unless it's an orchestrated effort. But I have been receiving mails today as well as phone calls asking me to support this tonight. I see this as a safety issue for the city, not necessarily the schools involved with it, but traffic on 51st as well as crossing over into Preserve Way is a major issue. I don't know if that's the busiest intersection in the city, but with the amount of volume that goes through there every day, I see this as a primary safety issue. And if we can work together, I think item B directs staff to draft an MOU and then come forward to us. But we are also approving the fact that we would do a contract with R.A. Smith based as part of that MOU. So I see this as a major issue, and the residents see it as a major issue for the safety of traffic, especially going into the turnaround there or the roundabout out there. That could moderate that in terms of an even flow. I see it as nothing but a plus, and therefore I would make the motion. I guess my was it seconded or did?
Well, I believe we were still having discussion, but if you were looking at going with option B as in boy, is that what you're saying?
A and B. That's the way the recommendation is.
Motion A to approve.
Hold on. Alderwoman Day.
Option A and B. It's moved and seconded.
Okay. Alderwoman Day.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Cromie, for being here. I will say in a previous life, I had a lot of experience with pedestrian safety around school zones when I worked in the city of Wauwatosa and the traffic nightmares that occurred there. And I live very close to the high school, so I see firsthand every day the traffic melee that occurs there. So I am very, very supportive of the measure and would be supportive of option A. Where I'm struggling today, and it's not to say that I would never approve an MOU with the school district. I think this is a logical partnership to settle an issue that is beneficial to both the city and the school district. I echo Alderman Holfer's comments about the ambiguity moving forward at this time with an MOU without knowing what those costs would be and what the school district is, able to and willing to provide to this particular project. So what I would propose is moving forward with option A, letting R.A. Smith do their study, come back to us with some concrete numbers, and then the school district and the city can work together on what that cost-sharing arrangement as well as the scope of work would look like in a more formalized way when we have some actual numbers and a scope of the project of what's coming forward. I just don't like the ambiguity right now to move forward without knowing those actual numbers, knowing the budget crunch that both the school district and the city have.
I would say that from the school district standpoint, we would be completely in line with that because that part has to get done anyways. So that, to me, isn't going to slow the train. It's going to keep it moving forward and is an action step in the process.
Exactly.
Alderman Craig.
Just a couple questions, and maybe President Sprague would be able to address this as well with you. Number one, right now it looks like that the district would take over the maintenance costs and all the everyday sort of things as far as that goes. Do you feel confident that
Danielle,
that the rest of your board would be amenable to that, or do you think that this would be something where it would be very dicey as far as passage of?
Yeah, great question. Having talked with numerous board members about this particular situation, I would see no reason that this would not get taken care of. Our Director of Buildings and Grounds, Andy Daniels, is here in the audience as well. We have talked about this, I don't want to say ad nauseum, but we've talked about it a lot. And he's understanding of the ideas that are going to have to take place. We'll have to obviously get a little more understanding of exactly what that is, but he's fully aware that this is on his plate to be added to things that he has to take care of or his department has to. And again, we've talked a lot with school board members, all 7, and they're all aware, all supportive of some remediation efforts to slow the traffic down there.
I wouldn't want to have where there would be that disconnect where one side is very much, I don't think anyone on the board here has spoken in opposition of this, but I would really be, I'd be kind of saddened if one side is like, great, we have kind of a framework, and then where you just don't have the votes on the other side where, the motion failed. And at the school board level.
Yeah, totally understandable. We have divisive issues. This is definitely not one of them.
Okay.
And
Mr. Sprague, would you say your name for the record? And
sure. Mike Sprague, I think
School board president.
School board, thank you. I'm the school board president, and I think we've already given the address to the school.
Yes.
I appreciate Mr. Holfer, Ms. Eichmann, and Ms. Days talking about cost, and we want to make sure that we're not putting the cart before the horse. It is important to me and the rest of the board, and I hope to the city as well, that this is part of the partnership and part of the community building that we want to have. There's always been sort of maybe we should get together, maybe we shouldn't get together. I don't know if I want to talk first. I don't know if I want to talk first. These are the types of things that we need to start getting together. Maybe A is first, and then we talk about cost. And there's going to be a sharing of cost. And the city council's for it. It sounds like the school board is for it. It sounds like let's move forward, figure out the cost, and work together to solve the problem, not not get to the altar and not sure what our vows are.
And I think, I'll just comment first, we had to start somewhere. And now we've started. And there's, this is a journey a little bit to get through this, and we're going to get through it, and it's going to be a transparent, and it's going to be all inclusive and all that moving forward, but we had a start. And now we started. So now we're going to continue to move forward. And people will be involved. This is the early parts of it. So we're going to figure it out. And if we can't come to an agreement, then we can't come to an agreement. But at least we're starting. I'm in favor of it, but obviously, hyper obviously, we need to know the numbers. And, I appreciate the Frogger comment. That was a mid-'80s video game. A lot of people in the audience were kind of like stunned, that's okay. Mr. Holfrey, you've got the floor again, sir.
You and I have had the conversation recently about how we might be able to work together and things that we can look at on a broader scale. I'm all for that. And like I said, I'm not opposed to having the light and increased safety. But some of the things that you can't commit and the mayor can't commit to what those percentages are going to be without the council and without the school board. And I don't want to be spending all kinds of money and then, this is great, and the school district says, we'll pay 20% and you'll pay 80%. If we go to the state or we go to the county and we say, because this happened at the industrial park, we think we need a traffic light, and the state and county don't agree, they say you can put it in, but you're going to pay for it. There's stop and go lights up by the Rock that the developer paid for. So this would be the first street light that the city, stop and go lights that the city would be paying for. So I really want to know what those percentages are going to be and what that number is. But the percentage is more than anything, and you won't know that until you go back to the school board.
Well, one thing we did pretty much discuss is who would take care of the maintenance. And that would be,
I'm sorry, that was the other thing that's in there. The district is solely responsible for any necessary maintenance. The city shall have no responsibility outside of what's outlined in Article 2 unless agreed at a later date and added as an addendum. So my question would be, so if we're doing a cost share on the installation and 2 years down the road, the schools say, nah, we can't handle this, we want you to take over the maintenance, is that going to be a cost share as well? Or is it just a cost share on the initial installation?
So I certainly can't speak to that. I'll kind of address the first part that you mentioned regarding the cost share and who can and who can't. So the mayor can't speak on behalf of the Common Council in solidity, but he can't speak on behalf of the Common Council in theory. Again, I can't speak on the school board in solidity either because they could outvote and change whatever, but I can't speak based on the knowledge that I have at the time. And certainly the school board is going to lean on Superintendent Ms. Bennett and myself to provide guidance and direction on where we think we should go, just as the mayor provides guidance and direction on where he thinks the city would go. So all of those agreements are always depending on you approving them and our school board approving them. But typically, if we're bringing something to the school board in relation to school safety, they're going to be on board and they're going to move forward with a recommendation, either the one we bring or something very close. I can't speak to 2 years from now. So if the stoplight goes in and for whatever reason we can't maintain it, I can't speak to what could happen. We could have an entirely new school board. We could have an entirely new administration. But what I will tell you is we are committed. Should the Common Council and school board approve this, we would be committed to maintaining it at the cost it takes to maintain that. Why? Because it's important for our students coming across. And they're our students, right? Franklin Public Schools, but they're the city of Franklin students as well. So something happens to one of them, it happens to all of us. So we're committed to the safety of those students.
Well, I'm sure you can appreciate, I'm not trying to be hard-nosed about it, but this is real dollars, and we're looking at cutting in various areas to balance budgets, much like you are. So just want to be super cautious with our spending.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I just find it hard to put a dollar amount on a student's life.
I will say, excuse me, when you talk about 2 years down the road, I know that we have schools that have some county land attached to them that we are in charge of maintaining. And we have never come back and said, I'd like more money to maintain this land. We maintain it because that's part of our agreement with the county. I suspect that we do the same with the city.
I would add, the county's come at us several times and we've taken it on in order to maintain that relationship.
Fair enough, thank you.
Mr. Barber?
Hi. I looked at item B, and when I suggested that we go with A and B, is a way to direct staff to start putting this together and start getting the numbers to see where we can come back and talk to you. So I looked at this as doing the groundwork and direct staff to take the draft MOU with the Board of Public Works and return to council with a recommended MOU. I don't see where we have an MOU that we're saying is cast in stone. So my motion was to go with A and B, and I think it was seconded. I don't see any reason why they can't be done simultaneously, and we're not precluding anything at this point. So that's why I made the motion. Another thing too is with my subdivision being linked now to Preserve Way, because I live on the other side of the creek there, there's a lot more traffic coming through from students that are using that bridgeway. So that is increasing the traffic from two subdivisions coming across on 51st, whether it be bikes, whether it be walking. But I see it as a safety issue, and that's why I'd like to proceed with both A and B and directing staff to follow ups necessary to get us that information. We can then look to how do we put the numbers together.
Okay, great. We've got a motion and a second.
Absolutely.
We have a motion and a second. Is the second's understanding? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
No.
Oh, roll call vote, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
No.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman. Aye. Alderman Hopfer.
No.
4 ayes.
To be clear, I would have voted for B only.
A only, you mean?
Sorry?
You mean A only?
No.
No, we've got 4 ayes, 2 noes. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving forward, item G8, annual report of the City of Franklin Tourism Commission activity and 2024 budget. Welcome. We'll probably move a chair or two up here, and Tyler and Danielle, if you want to share your microphones. Mr. Regitz, are you steering the ship?
For the first part of it,
Okay.
and then at the tail end. So I'm John Regitz. I'm Director of Economic Development for the City of Franklin. Thank you, Mayor and Alders, for giving us a few minutes to bring you the annual report for the City of Franklin Tourism Commission. And we're obligated to do that once a year. And what we'll include with that is the activities that we've had in the past year, as well as a general finance report and next year's budget. And if you take a look at the report, the first part of it, this is the budget document, the narrative that is for the City of Franklin. And it tells about what the Tourism Commission does and is going to be doing, and gives us an idea of some of the revenues that are involved with the hotel tax that Tourism Commission operates on. The significant part about this particular report is that it indicates that the Tourism Commission will contract with Engage Franklin to conduct tourism promotion and marketing, and they'll be doing the development of marketing materials, the distribution of those. They'll participate in trade shows and conferences where they will prospect for tourism events for the City of Franklin. Under the activity measures, which is the room taxes, It shows the total room taxes and then a little housekeeping in year 2023 and 2024. The correct amounts there are $48,700 and then $500,300 in 23 and 24 respectively. The numbers I gave you were the Tourism Commission's share. Just got focused in on what our budget was supposed to be, and you'll see those numbers a little later. And then some of the activities for this year, starting with a report that we had done with Carl Collective, and their role was to identify the prime markets for tourism development and marketing for the commission, and give us some messaging for those prime markets that we can make. And they came back with some research and insights and other suggested actions that the Tourism Commission could take to increase the visitor market, such as developing the soccer potential for tournaments. And so the data collection was nationally, locally, and statewide based. And the local analysis basically was comprised of focus groups and some interviews, as well as some surveys that were done with our local businesses. And so, again, I mentioned it, but a major takeaway that we got from this, that there's a lot of increasing potential for soccer tournaments in the community. The Croatian Soccer Club actually engages 15 hotels to support their needs for their tournament, their big tournament that they have every year. And along with the Polina Soccer Club, these tournaments are international in nature. So there's a lot of potential for that if we work together to try to expand that potential and develop that resource. And so some of the other findings are what you would expect. The Rock is the anchor for tourism activity, but other attractions like the Milwaukee County Sports Complex, the parks, the beer gardens, our golf courses, and facilities like the Polish Center are major attractions. We all know that, but they need to be inventoried, and that's what we've done here today. Recommendations, collaborate on a regional basis, plan what we're going to market, what we're going to focus on, then highlight those attractions. Got to develop a volunteer base. That's a big part of tourism development. And just to touch base briefly on some of those messages, and it's basically a page and a half solid of messages, but for like sports planners, if you can hit it, kick it, throw it, dribble it, ride it, or pedal it, we can swing it. And that's just one market area. For the light show lovers, if you're already in town, stay and enjoy a meal, spend the night. Fun and games don't start or don't have to end when the show is over. And then just for outdoors enthusiasts, smell the roses and the peonies and the daylilies and other flowers at nearby Warner Botanical Gardens. But like I said, there's a page and a half of those. So that's some of what we started with. We also sponsored an event, strategic planning with Engage Franklin earlier this year as part of the efforts to develop their scope of work and the relationship that we have with them. And so to go into that activity, developing that agreement, I'll turn it over to the chairman of the Tourism Commission, Lance Schaefer.
Thank you, John. As John said, my name is Lance Schaefer. I am I've been a board member or a commission member of the Franklin Tourism Commission since its inception in 2016, December 2016. And I also serve as the lodging representative on that commission as mandated by the Wisconsin Room Tax statute. A good, you see the slide up here, a good summary of what occurred in 2023 was our continuing efforts as now a 6-year-old commission to help establish the infrastructure needed to conduct tourism promotion, marketing, and development. One of the reasons that we formed the commission early on was because there was not sufficient, there wasn't an entity, a tourism promotion entity dedicated to Franklin at the time. So we thought a commission would better serve the interests of the room tax dollars for promoting Franklin as a destination. So in 2023, and it actually began back in 2022, we started working with Engage Franklin, which is a 501c4 organization and is a tourism promotion entity, as the Wisconsin state statute, identifies those entities that commissions can get involved with when it comes to tourism promotion, spending room tax dollars. So we started talking with them, and we were working on an agreement to be able to fund fund a portion of their activities and also establish how funds would be spent from the Tourism Commission. So in early 2023, we did some interim funding so that they could get up and running and conduct some tourism promotional activities. And all the while, we were working on an agreement with Engage Franklin. And I'm happy to report that that agreement was executed and just about a month or so ago. And in that agreement, what we were working on as a Tourism Commission Board was to make sure that we understood that the dollars that would be funded for the organization would be used for tourism promotion as outlined by the Wisconsin state statute. And we also wanted to make sure that we worked with them for representation on the Engage Franklin board. So we do have a member of the Tourism Commission Board on the Engage Franklin board. And that's where that, oversight and that working relationship really gets started. We also then worked with them on a level of funding. And as you can see from the slide, 75% of the tax dollars given to the commission are now going to be allocated to Engage Franklin. It's a multi-year agreement which coincides with the ending date of the current Franklin Field naming rights agreement. And that was another key aspect of the relationship with Engage Franklin, was the taking of that naming rights agreement and assigning the rights and responsibilities for that agreement to Engage Franklin, and tasking them with making sure that the promotional items that came along with that agreement for the city of Franklin are being adhered to, that we're maximizing those promotional activities, and that we've got somebody with a professional viewpoint making sure that all elements of that naming rights agreement are being honored. So that was the bulk of this year. Again, this basically getting to a point where we've now got an organization that can do the activities necessary to promote Franklin and do the marketing that's necessary to really make Franklin first top of mind when folks are thinking about visiting this part of Southwest Milwaukee, the Southwest Milwaukee area, and making sure that we're first in that choice when travel brings them to this area. And with that, if I can introduce Laura Nelson, the Executive Director.
Thank you very much. I am a familiar face here as of recently, but what you guys probably don't know about me is my tourism background. So I've been in tourism destination marketing as an industry expert for about 16 years now. The majority of my experience began in central Wisconsin, and then I moved it down to the Milwaukee market as of about 4 years ago. Destination marketing is my passion. I absolutely love it. I love the way it can contribute to the economic benefit of a community, but also the morale of a community. So Engage Franklin, I was brought on to launch from scratch. When I was in central Wisconsin at the Wisconsin Rapids Area Convention and Visitors Bureau as their director, I was in the right place, right time when Sand Valley Golf Resort came into Rome, Wisconsin. It was a gigantic complex in a very small town, mostly rural lakes community, that sort of thing. So it was very much, there are some similarities to how the Rock is impacting, this community as Sand Valley came in and impacted that community. I was fortunate enough to have staff involvement as we were the nearest DMO, a destination marketing organization, and then also board leadership in starting that entity for Rome, Wisconsin. So now Visit Rome, Wisconsin is a thriving entity that represents the community and is a voice of the citizens. So Engage Franklin is now my new passion. Thank you. So what it is, as Lance said, is it's a nonprofit tourism entity. You guys have probably heard of CVBs, DMOs, VCBs. You know, now a lot of them go as Explore La Crosse, Visit Milwaukee, those types of titles. We are Engage Franklin. And Engage Franklin was chosen very deliberately because we want to engage with the community and engage with the businesses. It is an independent entity, so it is not a part of the city. It is not a part of any private, thank you. It is not a part of any private business. It is highly collaborative. So we want to be in all of these conversations with city elected officials, with the commission, obviously, with the businesses, to make sure that everybody's kind of winning in the realm of tourism. And most importantly, it's an economic driver. So basically, it's our job not only to attract visitors, but to ensure that while they're here, they're spending their money in our businesses. The money that comes here stays here, and that we can track that with data so that we can understand what supply and demand we have in this industry so we can develop as a destination market. So our mission that our board labored over for at least 3 meetings is to serve as a destination marketing organization engaging in tourism promotion and tourism development that positions Franklin as a premier destination for sports, meetings, conventions, leisure, and corporate travel, resulting in economic prosperity for businesses and organizations and improved quality of life for those who live and work in the community. So note that it's multifaceted. We really do want to focus on the business aspect of that, but we want it to trickle down to the residents as well. So here is what we officially have planned for 2024. We will be producing an official visitor's guide like you're used to seeing in a lot of communities. That is both a digital piece and a collateral piece that can be found in hotels, businesses, and of course distributed throughout the state and the region. We did a small version of that in 2023 just because of the large, the volume of visitors coming for the larger events. And so we provided visitors bags, and we stocked those in some of the hotels and made sure that our visitors were connected with what else there was to see and do, although they were here for one particular reason. We are in the process of building engagefranklin.org. I think that you guys are used to probably visiting different destination websites, learning what there is to see and do in a community when you're visiting. It will be just that, but in this particular one, there's going to be a huge focus on a form-sourced community calendar. It's a very big deal for not just our visitors, but our residents to understand how to explore their own community. So we're going to be focusing on that. And likely mobile, we will be producing a visitor center. So the reason mobile is because we want to go where the visitors are. We want to be there, and by we, it would likely be me and a part-time staff member to begin with, just because of, modesty with regard to the budget. But we want to welcome collateral and digital assets from all of the community assets that we have. And then when somebody's at St. Martin's Fair, at, a different, at the Rock, at, I don't know, any version of a place where visitors gather, we want to make sure that our mobile visitor center is there so that we can connect those visitors with resources throughout. And then, as I believe both of these gentlemen talked about, event acquisition is kind of a big deal. We can bring in leisure tourists 1 at a time, 2 at a time, families at a time, but really what we want to focus on is bringing them in larger quantities. So, for example, we just this past year acquired the Greater Milwaukee Golf Show. That one was previously at State Fair Park. Now it's going to be hosted at the Mosh Complex, and we're going to be bringing over 5,000 visitors to the area. So that's just one small example of what we've done already. We're in current talks with Mud Girl, Snowvana, that's like a ski swap, Turf Wars, and USA Quad Ball, and looking at different locations in the community for those events. And so combined, we'd be talking about probably, if we were to acquire all of those, we'd be in the range of about 70,000 visitors, obviously coming at the particular times these events are hosted. So I think it's also important to note that when we're bringing a ton of visitors to the area, that it's become evident that destination marketing is great. The visitors are coming, the assets are here, but destination management is also a need for the community, so that it's, this beast that is the Rock that brings in tons of people at one period of time. In the soccer, if that develops to what it could be in potential, I feel like this entity can be that hub in the community where all the information is housed, where partnerships kind of arise, and where we can make sure that everybody is winning with tourism. We aren't just bringing them here, we're making sure that they have a great visitor experience. So eventually we'll be developing partnerships in a more formal sense with businesses in the community. We haven't done that just yet, but obviously we want to create our assets first. Obviously we'll be doing the destination marketing, and then as alluded to by the gentleman too, we'll be doing industry immersion. So we'll be attending all of those events to keep us up to date on trends in this industry. But I am open to any questions and appreciate your time.
Thank you. Who would like to start? Alderman Craig.
Just a handful of questions for you. You mentioned about tracking that dollar as how do you do that?
Yeah, so Destinations International has, and actually a lot of different like the Department of Tourism as well. There are a lot of ways there are algorithms and different formulas that when you belong to these organizations, they help you monitor your traffic. Obviously with like geofencing and the way we can monitor how many people are in one given point, one given place at one given point in time. So we'll have that data, but then we'll apply it to these formulas that are, they spend a ton of money on this research, to determine economic impact of particular events. So they have it broken down by meetings and conventions. Folks tend to spend this much money in the, per night and per visit. And then they have also like sports, for example, they'll have per participant and then spectator per participant based on the sport and based on the data. So we really rely on the industry experts to take the data that we collect and then of course apply it to their formula.
Okay. You also mentioned that, you're looking at other locations as far as hosts for as venues. And where else would you be looking as far as like, hey, this would be an awesome place for X or Y? Where else would we be? Because, maybe it's a lot of recency bias, but, it just kind of jumps off like, oh, it's going to be at the Rock. Oh, it's going to be at the Rock. Because, that's where pretty much I would say like, the bulk of the programming in the city is done. Where else would you be looking to kind of branch out and say like, you know what, that's not the only game in town. The Root River Center is fantastic, or going to other places. Where else are you looking to kind of engage?
Yeah, right on. So when in destination marketing, there's like it's like a three-legged stool. There's sports. So of course you want to do like an inventory of your assets, right? A lot of those are at the Rock, some are not at the Rock, right? Like you mentioned, we have the Root River Center, so bowling is an aspect, volleyball is an aspect. Obviously the soccer park is huge, Milwaukee County Sports Complex. So we basically will do, and also it's important to note that when an event of size comes, they a lot of times use multiple facilities in order to engage in one event. So for that, we would obviously do the inventory. And then for meetings and conventions, it's also quite different as well. At the Rock, they don't actually have that much meeting space, right? So like the Polish Center, oh my gosh, what an amazing facility to bring people for meetings and conventions. And then of course, once we get them there for the meeting, then we can show them all the other wonderful facilities that we have for recreation throughout the evening or maybe their follow-up day.
And then my last question is, you mentioned a couple of those other examples that you're in communications is like, hey, what would it take for you to, kind of pack up your tent and come to Franklin and do your show here? How much of that is like a trade show sort of stuff? What's your kind of split between that and some sort of like a destination event, like say Train Fest, the largest indoor model railroad show in the world, that's held at State Fair Park this weekend, just saying. Not that my kid's into that, but how does that sort of, number one, what sort of like split do you have between like, oh, well, the National Printers Association, we got them, versus like Brickfest or Train Fest, something like that? And then my second question would be, what does it take to get an association or an event to say, I like what you got here. We've had this great relationship with the city of Wauwatosa for years and years and years, but this is what's going to make us move to Franklin. Like, what are those sorts of conversations like in that regard?
Sure. Well, the industry has done a really good job of mechanizing that for DMOs. So there are a lot of organizations like Connect for meetings and conventions, Sports ETA for sports acquisition for events. So, and you mentioned the split. So I like to work smarter, not harder. I'm one person doing this right now, right? So I would utilize those spaces to present and go to a trade show, like, for example, I went to Sports ETA. It's like mini dating for sports event acquisition, right? You submit all of your information. They say who they want to meet with. You say who you want to meet with. And the top 50, you end up just having little 5-minute conversations. So we've done that already. So I utilize what the industry brings to make it easier. And when it comes to like a festival or something more hobby related, that's a whole entire market that we haven't even tapped into yet. So there is a possibility for that. And in a lot of those, it's just good old fashioned cold calling, right? You just say, hey, we think you're really cool. Here's what we have to offer. Can we please bring you in? And in the hobby market, oftentimes it turns into a fam tour, a familiarity tour, where you gather them in groups, take them to your destination, wine and dine them, show them around, show them the best time of their life, and let them, leave thinking that, there's absolutely no other better place to host their event.
Gotcha. Great. Thank you. Alderwoman Day.
Thanks. Alderman Craig stole a few of my questions, but kind of piggybacking off of that, Franklin is unique. We have a lot of recreation space. A lot of our neighboring suburbs are pretty landlocked, so we do have a unique ability to promote and bring in some larger scale outdoor type of events, which is great. My question is, while we do have a lot of that, we don't necessarily have as many restaurants, hotels, those other types of amenities that some of our neighbors do. So with some of your work with Engage Franklin, are you also looking at trying to bring in other types of business to the community as well? Or are we focused at this point primarily on the bigger events? Because, I think a lot of times if there's a lot of other amenities, that will also, trigger those bigger events to want to come because there's other things here for them.
That is absolutely correct. The nail on the head with that one. So the supply to demand with regard to our seasonal travelers, and I think Lance can probably attest to this, that there is definitely, during our warm weather months, there are more visitors than we have hotel rooms, as you alluded to, Mr. Rigetts, as well, with the soccer tournaments, right? So I think that it'll be something that happens naturally, and we're just now shining a spotlight on it. With regard to restaurants, I feel like we have sufficient supply. This is just my gut feeling. I haven't done data research on it, but I feel like we have sufficient supply to keep people there. In that regard, I think it's just making sure that visitors get that information in their hands and they're directed to Franklin businesses, right? That's where the destination management comes into play, where once we have them, how do we get them to stay here? But with regard to the development in the hotel category, I think that there is a lot of opportunity there. And in the interim, I've been partnering a lot with Oak Creek, actually. So whatever we have yin yang assets, kind of, right? Like they have a ton of hotel rooms. We have a ton of recreation assets. So in order to acquire large events at this point in time, we would have to partner in a very deliberate way in order to house them all and attract these large events. But eventually it would be wonderful if that problem didn't exist and our collaboration would exist, in a lighter sense.
Part of, getting to your question, though, you're right. A lot of this is about just having the basics, right? This visitor's guide that she talked about, a website that's when you Google, places to stay in Franklin or what to do in Franklin, you get events that pop up, and they're organic searches, top of page, right? And so we have a lot of overnight stay opportunities that are not big groups. They're wonderful. So those have been talked about, but there is just travel to the Milwaukee area. And people just need to know that Franklin is a really good opportunity. And so a lot of what they're doing with the visitor's guide, probably a map of the area, the website, will get people that are interested in attending, maybe they're here attending something downtown, but don't realize it's only 15 minutes from Franklin to downtown Milwaukee. And it's close to the airport. So, those are the kind of things that the work with Engage Franklin will bring to light and give us the tools that when people are searching, they'll get that information.
And anybody I've brought to Franklin who has never seen it before falls in love immediately, just so you know.
And I like what you're saying about some of our smaller local businesses. We have really great, unique businesses that have been here for a long time, whether it's Wagner's or Crossroads or Michelangelo's or Point After, but if you don't live here, you might not know about it, so you come in for something, but you don't know about it. You see the things right off the highway on 27th Street, or you came in, down 76 and you pass through Greendale and Greenfield, and you see all those restaurants. So I like that you're, taking the time to acknowledge what we do have in Franklin and kind of pointing people that, once you're here, you can stay here. We have, great things to offer, and they're local businesses. My second question is, I'm sure that you do know that this exists. I don't know how many people in the general public know it exists, but there is the Celebrate Franklin website that is, I think if you probably did website analytics, probably has about 10 hits a month, if that. So I'm assuming that will sunset and just be no longer, and this will take its place.
Yes.
And will this be linked off on the city's website as well, like for ease for people to find it?
Absolutely. And there will be a whole links campaign with other community businesses as well.
And I'd be remiss without asking about the elephant in the room. There's a rather large convention coming next summer to the Milwaukee area. Have we reached out in any capacity to try to lure some of those events into Franklin?
Yes, absolutely. So I've partnered with Visit Milwaukee. We've been at their partner fairs where the RNC meetings and convention planners have come, and I've been at a roundtable to advise for some of the smaller suburbs. And in addition to that, I just submitted our hotels, including the newer one that isn't operational yet, to their directory that's being submitted.
Okay, great, thank you.
Excellent questions. Mr. Olfer.
Unless anybody else has a question. I just wanted to say thank you guys for all of the hard work. And speaking just on my behalf, it felt like the last 2 years was a really tough struggle uphill. And it feels like we're at the top of the hill. We've got all the pieces in place, and now it's just going to ready to take off. So I'm excited, and once it gets rolling, then we have more outreach to those small local businesses to get them engaged in the process as well. So
Exactly.
thank you for everything.
Thank you.
You bet.
In closing, I'd just like to recognize Mr. Mark Wiley. I was hoping that you were going to come up here and say something, but okay, good. They did a great job, and thank you again for everything you're doing. All right, you bringing it home now, John?
Yeah, I'll just touch base here.
Quickly.
Really tough questions go to Mr.
Mr. Wiley, I was hoping to dish something off to him where he's kind of, skating, but yeah, close this up real quick, please.
So, just to summarize on the budget here, again, see the numbers there that I put in the other sheet erroneously. But if you come down to here and take a look, here's the 249,000 is the big ticket items, sundry contractors. That is the 75% of the revenue that the Tourism Commission gets that'll go to Engage Franklin, and that's our estimate right now from 150,000. But if you take a look down here, here's 100,000 that goes to 20. Well, that's the $100,000 difference that we're seeing there. So, we won't need to be doing the memberships, and just a couple items to help sponsor an event here or there, and some conferences and schools and mileage for the board. The 20,000, feel like the project that we did this year with the research with Carl Collective, if we have to do something like that. And then $50,000 as compared to $15,000. This is basically to get the banner program rejuvenated. We'll try to stock up and get some engineering done yet this year with the $15,000 in the budget. Next year, we're going to look at installing and upgrading with spring-loaded brackets so that the banners don't hang in there until the wind bears them off. There's some give in there. And so they'll be installed as well, and so that'll increase the price. So that's a summary on highlights on the budget.
Thank you. Well done. Anything else before we move on? Madam Director of Finance.
I just want to state that the budget that you see up there is different from the mayor's recommended budget back from September 19th. So some of those changes were brought forward to the Finance Committee. And those changes are on the list of changes you will see on item G16. So those are what is reflected if you had any questions on that list.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to G9. Request Common Council approval for the fire department to enter a long-term preventative maintenance and service agreement for its 4 Lucas Mechanical CPR compression devices.
So moved.
Second.
We got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G10, request council approval to accept a $2,500 donation from Waldera's Towing to be used toward purchase items and equipment supporting the dive team.
Move to approve.
Second.
We got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G11, review of pending changes to tax payment collection options. Who is presenting on this? Madam Director of Finance.
So this was brought up at the Finance Committee, and this is just for you guys to place on file. We've used GCS as our property tax management. All of Milwaukee County has used it. It's recently migrated to cloud-based databases, which are now called LandNav. That's who we'll be using in 2023. In the past, since 2017, in order to make an online payment for property taxes, you would have to go through US Bank, and we used ePay, which only allowed you to use an ACH payment to make your property tax payments online. Greenfield has switched over to VPS, which is the new system that is compatible with LandNav. It will be easier to allow the residents to make their property tax payments online. Not only will they be able to make payments with ACH, credit, debit, but they will be able to do it right off of the website, whereas US Bank is no longer being supported with LandNav. It won't be able to be compatible with them anymore. So to make it easier for the residents, they won't have to have their tax key number to make a payment anymore. They will just have, it's easy to click a button and transfer them right to VPS, which will allow them to make the payments.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this?
Move to receive and place on file.
Second.
We've got a first, Alderman Eichman, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G12, a resolution to revise state and municipal financial agreement for improvements related to a Wisconsin Department of Transportation project on South Lovers Lane, US Highway 45, State Highway 100, from West Rawson Avenue, County Highway BB to West College Avenue, in the new amount of $593,350. Who's on this? Tyler?
So you should have all got the 4th revision of the state municipal financial agreement at your chairs. So this is in regards to the Wisconsin DOT project on Lovers Lane from Rawson to College. So within their project, this was previously discussed at council meetings, including things like decorative concrete and a lighting system that kind of mirrors and matches what Hales Corner did in the stretch north of that. So they provided us with an updated estimate after their bids came in of the costs, and given what the city's experience with construction projects do, the cost for the lighting system jumped up from their initial estimates. So the new agreement would be for $593,350. And then staff took a look at some other options we discussed with WISDOT. Can we just remove the lighting and only light the intersections? Because of doing that, WISDOT will not contribute any of the funding to it, so it would end up costing the city a little bit more, actually, to not have the whole corridor lit. And then the option to deny this new agreement would ultimately go back to the previous agreement, and then the actual costs of construction, which the previous agreement had a little bit less cost share from WISDOT. So option A is the most effective, cost effective for the city. And then on the financial side of it, it's part of and related to to item G16, which the Director of Finance will touch on it later.
Discussion. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve option A.
Second.
Okay, we've got a first and a second. See no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. G13, a resolution supporting Wisconsin Department of Transportation Transportation Alternatives Program. It's TAP 2024-2028 award cycle for the West Putes Road pathway from South 76th Street to West St. Martin's Road. Tyler.
So this is regarding the possibility of having a pathway on Putes Road. We have not gotten to the point of any design of north or south side of the road. So at this stage, we've simply applied to the state for this Transportation Alternatives Program, this TAP grant. So essentially that offers grants to municipalities for offering alternate modes of transportation, biking and walking. This stretch of Putes, given a lot of the concerns that were shared tonight with speeding and pedestrians on the roadway, bikes on the roadway, it's a very narrow stretch. This would be a great spot for a pathway. So this application that we submitted is contingent upon getting a resolution of support from the council. And it's important to note that that resolution of support would basically agree that the city would accept the grant if we were awarded the grant. So we're still in the process of going through design and trying to map out best side of the road and speaking with neighboring residents. So this is really just related to the grant application and a resolution supporting that.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions. I'll start. First of all, let's say, for example, because my recommendation would be north side of the street, given one of my favorite businesses in the world, Michelangelo's is there, makes it easier to get to. But what about for the neighbors that are on that north side? Is there any special assessments coming down their way, like the Hennikas that own, hundreds of feet in the front? Or is are special assessments not a consideration or a fear?
Yeah, at this time, they are not a consideration, at least from our perspective. This grant will cover 80% of it, and then we have park impact fees that will cover that 62% of the additional 20%. And then I believe, although I may have to defer to city attorney, that there are some restrictions on assessments for pathways or sidewalks. But
I don't believe I received that question before.
No.
But I think that is an available public improvement for special assessments.
Sure.
And I may have looked at it on this one amongst 500 other things over the last week.
But I guess in short to answer, no, that hasn't been.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that was, I agree with it. No, okay. Mr. Olfer.
I would add too that one of the concerns from neighbors was not having to plow or shovel a sidewalk, but it's a 6-foot path, so the city would take that burden as well.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Alderman Eichman, did you have? I'm sorry, I thought I saw your hand.
No, my questions were answered. I was going to suggest we table it to another meeting so we have some more information.
I would make a move to approve option A.
Yeah.
It's just authorizing a resolution of support for the project.
Agreed.
Yeah, the only thing that I had a question on, Tyler, and you sort of alluded to it, in here we talk about the parcels on the north side or the south side, and that some of them we may need to ask for the homeowners to sell right of way for the pathway, but that if there are unwilling sellers, the city would pull the pathway closer to the roadway and stay within the existing right of way. So it seems like there is a path forward for this project if residents are not willing to sell it. We could still move forward, because you had just mentioned that if the resolution goes forward, it's the condition that we're saying we're accepting the money and we're going to do the project. So I just want to make sure that we have a path forward, because I know that, it seems like all the residents are for it, but nobody wants it on their side of the road. So I think we're going to hit some stumbling blocks along the way. So I just want to make sure there's a path forward for the city that isn't contingent upon, residents having to sell parts of their property.
Correct. I mean, ideally, we would push the pathway off the roadway a bit, but in the scenario that, you know, a resident doesn't want to give up any right of way, yeah, we would make
We do
design
have enough room to be
modifications.
able to
We
do
have
it.
enough room to make those accommodations, possibly similar to something like the pathway on the north side of Church Street where we have a rumble strip and then the sidewalk basically adjacent to the roadway.
Great, that was my only concern.
Alderman Eichman.
Being at the neighborhood meeting, since it pertains to, you know, my district as well as District 1, not knowing which side of the road it's going to be on quite yet is a very, very large factor. I mean, obviously, Tyler, you were there that night, and I really appreciate your assistance and time that evening, as always. However, you know, it seemed kind of like the general consensus was it was kind of like a 50-50, you know, but maybe, and not these exact numbers, but maybe 50% of the residents wanted it on the south side, not the north, vice versa. Some don't want it at all. I mean, it was, you know, I'd almost like to see more continuation in speaking with the residents and my constituents, and maybe another neighborhood meeting and so forth.
Okay.
Because it just seemed to be such a heated subject.
Sure. Yeah. I guess without us being able to really dig into the design, it would be hard to commit to a side of the road before the DOT's deadline. So they do need this with that application by the end of the year, essentially for us to be eligible for that program. So that would essentially, if we did wait, we could table this to a meeting yet in December or late November here, but.
Oh, sorry, thank you. That's what my suggestion was, and I still hold firm with that, to table it until we have a little bit more information.
Okay, so we have a first for option A. Do we have a second for option A?
I'll second option.
We've got a first and a second. See no further, oh,
Can I just ask a clarifying question?
absolutely. Alderman Day.
So will the DOT allow us to move forward with the TAP grant, even if we don't know which side of the road
Yep,
we're using? So,
correct.
okay,
So some of the TAP grant would fund the design of it too.
okay,
So-
great.
So oh, sorry, were you done, Alderman? For clarification.
Alderman Eichman, you have got the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I thought I would. For the TAP grant, if we move forward in accepting that, we're committed to that. So then it has to go through no matter what, correct? Either on the south side or on the north side, which is undetermined?
I believe that is correct. I have not worked with DOT specifically on if that were the case, but we can certainly follow up and ask with them what would be the outcome.
Thank you, Tyler. So if I'm understanding this right, for clarity, if we accept the TAP grant, we're doing this project no matter what. We just don't know what side of the road it's going to be on, what else it pertains to, if it's going to regard easements, who's really going to technically maintain this property. I mean, is the city,
Well,
is the DPW equipped to do
I think
this?
we
Do
just-
we have the right equipment?
I think we discussed that the DPW would be taking care of the sidewalk, because it's a 6-foot sidewalk.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you. All right, so we've got a first and a second. See no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. G14, a resolution requesting an area within the city of Franklin receive a Franklin postal address designation. This was discussed earlier by a gentleman up here that spoke. This has been an ongoing issue for quite some time. Alderman Hassan, would you like to start?
Yes, it was just brought to my attention by the same gentleman through email and phone calls that
There you go.
he
Thank you.
really likes to have the ownership of like Franklin residency, because as of now, he's not considered, and many other families are not considered as Franklin residents, even though they do live in Franklin properties, but they don't have like Franklin ID or Franklin privileges, and they like to see what we can do about that. I know we are limited on what we can do, but at least if we can get the Common Council to approve this tonight, then it will be taken up to an upper level, like the maybe the congressman for the Franklin area, and, the federal can handle it from there.
Very good. Alderwoman Eichman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add, I also spoke with a few residents that reside over in this little pocket area of Franklin that is zip code under Milwaukee. Their car insurance costs, because their zip code is labeled under Milwaukee, seems to be significantly, higher than a Franklin residence. Why one concern too, and again, I am in agreement with you, Alderman, as far as bringing this up to an upper level in government, but the mail and driver's licenses and so forth for the Franklin residents, that would all have to be changed over. People would have to get, for example, pay a fee maybe for an address change on a driver's license, checking accounts. I mean,
I'm sure they'll be
a lot
very
of different
happy.
things involved in that. It's like
I'll wait
changing
till you're
your maiden name to your married name and vice versa type of a thing. You know what I mean? There's legal documents when you're going to change a zip code over. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You lost me, I'm married. You still got the floor.
And then to my understanding as well that even though this is for those listening from home that may not know, even though this is the 53221 zip code, the Franklin Police and Fire Department still respond to that area in Franklin, even though it has a Milwaukee zip code, right?
Yes, you still have the floor.
I'm done. Thank you.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Mr. City Attorney.
Just for the council's information, this was done back around 1998 or so, and the postal office did not allow it.
Thank you for the information, sir. We've got a first and a second. See no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item G15, assessment for Loomis pathway along east-south side of West Loomis Road from West St. Martin's Road to West Rawson Avenue. Tyler.
So this item is in regards to another Wisconsin DOT project. This one, Loomis Road from St. Martin's to Rawson. So in this project, previously the city had a memorandum of understanding and a SMMA with include a 6-foot sidewalk or pathway along the east side of for that stretch. Initial estimates were about half of what they came back at now. We had lengthy discussions with the project manager for the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. They are set to receive bids early next year and work on construction next year, starting in next year. So the timing on if we want to move forward with this pathway would be critical for them in the design phase as they're getting ready to put plans out for that bidding. And then there's a table in the council action sheet that kind of includes, so the city engineer looked at possible ways to fund this, and the assessment was one that we looked at. The table kind of breaks down how much each of those property owners along that stretch of Loomis Road would be assessed. And then key things are for the residential properties that are currently zoned for single family or non-residential, their special assessment would be deferred up until that property, if it ever were to get rezoned to a multifamily residential business, institution, or industrial use. And then I believe discussions with Director of Finance today was that we were going to prioritize using park impact fees for the $661,821 as much as we could.
Yeah.
So is that an affirmative? Because I do not support the special assessments at all for this project, because I didn't think that was part of the original deal. I thought originally that this was not going to, have a special assessment impact on citizens. So I just want to make sure that we get out there, what the reality of this is. So I'll yield for now if anyone else wants. Alderwoman Eichman?
Being that it's in District 2, again, my district, I agree with what the mayor just mentioned. I did not realize that there would be an assessment on neighbors' properties. I mean, they might not want it. I don't recall, and definitely, Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, there wasn't a meeting held on this as far as like a neighborhood input type meeting, and no letter went out to the residences along that stretch?
Correct, not yet. So that's part of the options with this council action sheet would be to direct staff to schedule a neighborhood meeting, send out those communications. So, or the other option would be to direct staff to notify WISDOT that we need the project brought back into within budget, but that would likely mean that we wouldn't have any pathway or sidewalk along that stretch, and that we would also incur some redesign costs that they would take on. So this is a little bit different from the previous item that had that updated financial agreement, is that this one doesn't at this time, so we would need to let them know if we need them to change it. Otherwise, we would be obligated for that. Their estimate right now of $1,067,000, and obviously it could change based on their bid results. It could be less, could be a little bit higher.
So before we continue with the comments, your option A is what I would support, option A, because by the time that would come around, we'd have some more solid information. Okay, Alderman Day?
I have two questions, Tyler. The first, obviously, I was not on the council in 2020 when this was first brought forward. I can't imagine there is a large demand of people to walk on Loomis, which has highway speeds. I don't quite understand why there needs to be a pathway there in general. And my second question is, why this side of the road? Why not the other side of the road? How was it determined what side of the road the pathway would be on?
So largely for your second question, DOT does all that design work. I guess that probably, 2021, 2020, that was before my time too, so I'm not sure if there was discussions with DOT prior to that on which side of the road was preferred. But from what I know of the project, yeah, they determine it, and a lot of it's based on right-of-way, and there is existing sidewalk from Brentwood Park to Forest Hill Avenue, so that's another reason to keep it on the east side. I guess to touch on your first question, so with the last item on Putes, with that pathway, the DOT is also looking to install, or the city has asked them to install, a pathway on St. Martin's and Ryan Road for that stretch on the north side of the road. So these would be all connected paths that ultimately could get someone from down near the industrial park all the way up to Ballpark Commons, walking. Obviously, that's a long walk, but walking or biking.
I'm more concerned on the safety aspect than the, it's not, I put it in Google Maps, it's not as far as I thought it was, but just the safety aspect of it, as parts of that are highway speed, so then, people are going, a 70, 75 in that stretch,
And
so it's just a safety concern for me.
Sure. And it would be a separated path that would be quite a ways off the road. I don't know, roughly.
It's not connected to the roadway.
Correct, no.
Right. So is there a motion for option A or whichever?
Move.
On option A,
Yes.
I guess I'll second.
we've got a first and a second.
And again, I apologize for interrupting you, Mayor. With that second, that is just scheduling neighborhood meetings, talking with the residents and so forth. You're not obligated.
Correct, option A. That's
Okay,
exactly what it
just wanted
says.
to clarify.
Yep.
Thank you.
First and a second, see no further discussion. All's in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. 16, Finance Committee recommended changes to the 2024 Mayor's recommended budget. Madam Director of Finance.
Okay, so back on September 19th, the 2024 Mayor's recommended budget was discussed. Since then, the Finance Committee reviewed the budget, and they reviewed the budget 4 times with all of the department heads, and then with myself and the Director of Administration. On the second page, you'll see the list of recommended changes that came from the Finance Committee. I can briefly go through those and then answer any questions. The general fund, I should say myself and the Finance Department, we reviewed the revenues and we reevaluated the revenues while still being conservative, but did increase those slightly, respectfully with some of those different account numbers. We reduced the special legal charges by 160,000, which then allowed for just about all of the department head requests and whatever their needs were able to be included in the expenditures based on the increasing of the revenues and the decreasing of the special legal services. Debt service, the principal and interest payments were included for the new bonds. However, with the sale of today's bonds, those will have to be adjusted because the principal and interest payments, that was all guesstimate before deciding what the sale bids were today. Capital improvement, there was some additional funding needed for the South 116th Street Trail, which was offset by some park impact fees, which you'll see right below that. The impact fee fund, taking some of the impact fees and transferring it to debt service to offset the principal and interest payments that weren't included in the 24 budget initially. The Tourism Commission, that's what was presented by the Tourism Commission tonight. And then the sewer fund. The initial presentation of the budget did not include the MMSD 8% increase in sewer usage fees. So that's just a pass through to the residents. So you'll see the increase in the revenues that will come from the residents, then being offset by the $500,000 increase to MMSD. So that is the staff recommended changes to the 2024 mayor's recommended budget from the Finance Committee. Since the Finance Committee meetings, there have been some additional changes, which I have noted on the council action sheet. I will state that there are 6 different motions tonight. So I will say one of the motions is for the attached document from the Finance Committee, and then the additional changes to the budget are individual motions. The first one would be the general fund would be to increase fire department wages and benefits with respect to a decrease in vehicle support, and that comes from the fire department themselves. The capital improvement fund is an increase in general fund expenditures. Increase in capital improvement fund expenditures. So you'd be using fund balance to fund the school traffic light project. TID 7 in the initial budget, there's 2 borrowings for TID 7. Only one of the interest payments was included in the initial budget. So I had to include that under the debt service for TID 7 with respect to transferring of funds from the capital projects TID 7 fund to the debt service fund. Each of our TIDs have a debt service fund and then a capital projects fund, and that's how they commingle with each other. And then last, the street improvement fund is increasing expenditures again to use some of the fund balance for the Rosenda College project that you saw on G12. So with that being said, if you had some time to review the attached list, that would be one motion to approve that if you so wish. And then each of the additional requested changes are its own motion. Respectfully. So I do just want to note that I know that there was some discussion to the school traffic light project. You do have the ability to not approve that. The approval of the design earlier is different from the actual funding of the project. But other than that, yeah, any questions?
Mr. Hofer.
Not sure if this is the place or not, but looking for clarification on the restoring the $2,000 for the senior group.
Sure.
That come in.
That is on the changes list from the Finance Committee, so that is included as part of adding that $2,000 back into the senior citizens activities. Yep,
Where it
it's
says
like,
net minus 2,000?
correct, yeah, so that's showing that that's included back in the expenditures, which will be offset by the revenue up on the top.
Okay, and then when all this is done, we'll get a clean reprinted budget.
Absolutely. So you'll see, I think G19 talks about any other additional changes that you want to see. And then you will see it again one more time on the November 21st meeting to discuss any more changes to the proposed budget. And then the budget will be presented as a public hearing and a final adoption on the 28th. So there's still some time.
When you look at the budget, I'm not sure what the page is now, but there's the narrative that says you're going to leave one of the senior groups fine and take two from the other. It's exactly reversed from what's in the spreadsheet.
Correct.
Why is that? So the narrative says you're going to, the narratives, I've got a copy of it somewhere. Narrative said you're going to take 2,000 from the senior group, 2,000 from the travel group. And in the spreadsheet, it's the exact opposite.
Okay, I'm not sure. I would have to double check that. But if there is some discrepancy, then we can change the wording and present it at the next meeting.
Oh, we're good. We already talked, yes, not gonna have an issue. No, I know, we're good, John. Mr. Holfer, you still have the floor.
I'm done, thank you.
Alderwoman Day.
So my question does go back to the school traffic light project for $250,000. You said right now it's going to come out of the general fund as.
So the engineering costs for R.A. Smith will, yes.
Okay, and the 250.
But the project itself will come from Fund 46, the Capital Improvement Fund.
Okay, because we don't, I guess here's my question. We don't have, as we talked about before, an actual budget for this. And in the action sheet on 7, we had a range from 250 to 300,000. So I guess.
The discussion that I had with the city engineer was a total project cost of 300,000. So it would be $50,000 for
R.A. Smith plus.
Right, plus
so
the
250 to
250.
300 here includes both of them.
Correct.
Okay.
So looking at this, it appears we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 motions.
Yeah, so each budget amendment or each change to the budget requires its own motion, I believe, which is why they're separate.
So is that right, Mr. City Attorney, each motion? So we have 6 different motions, and we'll do 6 different roll calls. How about that? All right, let's see here. I'll start with this first one. This will be a roll.
Move to approve.
Okay, a motion to amend the 2024 mayor's recommended budget to increase the fire department wages, benefits, expenditures by $3,800 and decrease fire department vehicle support by $3,800. We've got Mr. Hassan is the first.
Second.
Second by Alderman Eichman. Roll call, please.
Alderman Holpfer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
6 ayes, no, motion carries. Motion number 2, motion to amend the 2024 mayor's recommended budget to increase capital improvement fund expenditures by $250,000.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Holpfer.
No,
5 ayes, 1 no. Motion carries. Next motion up, motion to amend the 2024 mayor's recommended budget to increase TID 7 debt service revenue by $29,251 and increase TID 7 debt service expenditures by $72,233.
Move to approve.
We have a first,
Second.
we've got a second. See no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Alderman Holpfer.
aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Next motion up, motion to amend the 2024 mayor's recommended budget to increase TID 7 capital project expenditures by $29,251.
Move to approve.
We have a first
Second.
and a second. Roll call again, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann.
Aye.
Alderman Holford.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Next motion up, motion to amend the 2024 Mayor's recommended budget to increase street improvement expenditures by $147,800.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Holford.
Aye.
Alderman Eichmann.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Last motion, motion to amend the 2024 Mayor's recommended budget for resources and expenditures by fund and appropriation unit as detailed on the attached schedule be included in the proposed 2024 City of Franklin, Wisconsin budget for the public hearing scheduled for November 28th, 2023.
So move.
Second.
We have a first and a second by Alderman Craig. Roll call, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann.
Aye.
Alderman Holford.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Since we have now hit the 3-hour mark, 3-hour and 5-minute mark, we'd like to take a 5-minute break.
You read my mind. I was gonna
I
say
did.
some of
I
us
know.
that sit on licensing have been in meetings
So
for
we,
over 4 hours.
when you're ready.
Great, so that would be great.
Okay,
I'd like to make the motion. Do I need a motion for that?
no.
Thank you.
Oof, almost lost that one. Come back at 9:40, please.
Aye.
Record. Kelly, you
Progress.
It's 9:42 PM. We are back in open session. Item G17, a resolution authorizing the installation of a deck within the 44-foot public utility easement upon parcel 2 of the CSN number 6424, part of the Twin Oaks of Tuckaway expansion land being a part of the Northwest 1/4 and the Southwest 1/4 of the Southwest 1/4 of Section 15, Township 5 North, Range 21 East, in the city of Franklin, Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, located at 8482 South 76th Street, tax key number 837-9998-014, Quail Haven LLC applicant. Tyler.
So this one on Exhibit C in the packet, there's a little drawing of, it shows the deck and the proposed stairwell that comes down into Holly Ann Lane there, into the public utility easement. Important to note that Holly Ann Lane is a private roadway, not owned or maintained by the city. This is just in our easement for the utilities. From the engineering side, we don't see any issues. We would just recommend that we were hoping to have the Exhibits A and B signed by the property owner ready for this meeting, but they weren't, so just make the approval contingent on us getting those signed copies before the city executes.
So the recommended motion would then add that, what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion on this?
I have a question first, and then I would make the motion. What's the timeline you would anticipate to get those signatures?
We were hoping this week. Ronnie, our technician, is out of the office, so it's possible it's in his email box and no one else has copied on it, but we would anticipate within the next week we'll have it.
I would move to approve pending your getting those signatures.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. G18, status update on the Unified Development Ordinance, the UDO rewrite. Mr. Regulo Martinez, you have the floor.
So the last update on this project was presented in February this year. So it hasn't been presented to the new council members. So I will provide some background information and then I will go to the current status of the project. So what is the UDO, the Unified Development Ordinance? It combines zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations. The zoning ordinance basically divide the city into different zoning districts and provide use standards, permitted uses, prohibited uses, development standards such as setbacks, height standards for each of these districts, and also the approval and administration process for the ordinance. And the subdivision regulations provide these standards for new lots in terms of minimum area, minimum lot width, and also standards for new streets when a parcel of land is platted for a new subdivision. Why is the Unified Development Ordinance being reviewed? I will quote the City of Franklin Comprehensive Plan. So it says, based upon the number of potential zoning, land division, and design-related changes identified in the City of Franklin 2025 Comprehensive Master Plan, it is herein recommended that the city undertake an update of the Unified Development Ordinance as soon as practical. End of quote. So that's why it's being reviewed, the Unified Development Ordinance. So where are we in the process? So the project is divided in 6 steps. So I will go first to the step that has been completed, and then I will jump to the step in progress, and will conclude with the next steps. First, the project kickoff was in 2021 summer. The city entered into an agreement with a planning consultant, Jose Levine, and the city organized a task force that is going to be like the steering committee of the review process. So basically, the task force is the Plan Commission plus 2 members of the Environmental Commission and 1 member of the Economic Development Commission. Second step, public engagement. That was approximately happened 2021 in fall. So the staff and the consultant held informative sessions at City Hall, and also staff held another informative session at the St. Martin's Fair. Public engagements also include discussion with the Plan Commission, then the Common Council, and also stakeholder interviews. Third step was the diagnosis, basically to identify strength and weakness of the Unified Development Ordinance and to provide preliminary recommendations. I will provide some of the highlights of the recommendation, basically to change the organization of the Unified Development Ordinance from sections to articles. So I will provide one example. For example, the natural resources standards in the current ordinance are in 3 different sections. 3 different divisions. And now with the new organization, this will be consolidated into 1 article for natural resources. So that's one example. Also to add graphics, flowcharts and tables to the ordinance will make the ordinance easier to understand for the general public. Also include one of the recommendations to consolidate the zoning district. The current ordinance has redundancy of zoning district, has too many residential districts, for example. So the idea is to consolidate that from 38 zoning districts that the current ordinance has into 20 zoning districts.
From 38 to 20.
Correct.
Right.
Also in the diagnosis include nonconformity analysis. So the consultant did a study of the nonconforming lots. That means lots that don't meet the minimum lot area or minimum lot width. So and provide some recommendations to lower, for example, the minimum lot width to make these non-conforming lots into compliance with the new ordinance. For example, by reducing the lot width in the R3 zoning district from 110 feet to 90 feet, it will make the non-conformity lots, the total parcels in the city that do not comply, from 38% to 8%. that will reduce the nonconformity. Another preliminary recommendation was to remove the zoning of the right-of-way. For some reason, the current ordinance provides zoning for the right-of-way area, like making the right-of-way area like residential and industrial. That doesn't make any sense. So it's being removed, the zoning of the right-of-way. And also to change the use table from the standard industrial classification, that is like a generic land use classification, to a more specific land use classification that is adapted to the local conditions. For example, the SIC table provides a land use category for deep sea transportation that we don't have in the city. So, and now the new use table would provide, for example, standard for food trucks. Okay, so then I will jump into the step 4, that is the draft UDO articles and zoning map. That is the step that is in progress now. I will say it's almost complete because the ordinance provide a total of 12 articles. So 11 articles have been drafted, and 6 of them have been reviewed by the task force, and the input from the task force has been incorporated into the articles. And the other 5 articles have been presented to the task force, but the feedback from the task force is still in progress to be incorporated. The article that is still in progress is the definitions. It's normally left to the end of the review process. And also there are some revisions to the zoning map that is in progress. I will highlight some of the major changes of the new UDO. For example, for residential districts, density will be regulated only by minimum lot area and width. So, and the density standards will be removed. The density standards basically provides number of dwelling units per acre. So that will be removed. It will be only regulated by the standards of the lot. Minimum living area will be removed. Some residential zoning districts provide a minimum area for dwelling units. So that will be removed, and that will allow for a more diverse housing types, will allow for small dwelling units. Accessory dwelling units, such as garage apartments or granny flats, will be allowed with a special use permit in residential districts. ADU, accessory dwelling units, are currently not allowed in the city. It will also provide the new ordinance standards for food trucks, outdoor dining, short-term rentals, solar energy collection systems, and a standard for townhomes and multifamily buildings. Minimum parking requirements will be removed and replaced with maximum parking requirements. The sign standards will be moved from the municipal code to the new Unified Development Ordinance. Another change is the incorporation of the connectivity index that will kind of promote or encourage grid street pattern. So if it's a new parcel that is platted adjacent to an existing subdivision, this standard will kind of encourage interconnectivity of the streets of the new subdivision to existing subdivisions or between new subdivisions. And it will kind of discourage cul-de-sacs streets. And also will provide some kind of streamlined review process. So for example, the zoning administrator will have some authority to approve site plans provided the area is below certain square footage. So next steps will be when we have all the draft articles ready and the zoning map ready, will be presented to staff. We'll have different staff sessions, also task force workshop with the Plan Commission, workshop with elected officials, public open house, and the legal review. And the final step will be the public hearing and adoption. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Just a couple quick points here. So this, the whole crux of this redo and rewrite is to make it simpler, easier to follow, easier for staff to understand and follow, easier for the citizens to understand and follow. So, and this is a general question. I believe I know the answer, but if you currently are in this UDO and you are operating within our legal conformities, if the UDO rewrite changes that, what happens? Are they grandfathered in because they were in compliance here, but now not in compliance with the new rewrite? Does somebody that's...
Yeah, so if an existing development has been lawfully established with the current ordinance, and the ordinance changed, and let's say that it's no longer in conformance, then will be a legal non-conforming use.
Got it. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney.
Along those same lines, and I know I raised this point for further detailed review, but just in terms of 38 existing zoning districts, and that will be changed to 20, how many thousand properties in the city of Franklin are in effect being rezoned? And I know the response to that was relatively, no, I don't think so, because the reason for raising that is a rezoning requires notice and public hearing. And so that could have to occur for thousands of properties, and that has to be reviewed very detailed and closely.
Agreed. Regulate.
Yeah. Yeah, with the one of the versions of the zoning map is approximately 19% of all parcels. But the zoning map is still in progress, so that could change.
Okay. Mr. Holfer.
I just have two quick questions. I understand a lot of communities are doing this with the parking standards now. But I'm just wondering, is that going to put an emphasis more on street parking then? So somebody comes in, and I'm envisioning like what they want to do up at 76 in Rawson. So if all they have is a maximum, and if people, which they tend to want to do when they're building buildings, not spend too much money, so only want to have the minimum amount of parking. And if it's a business that brings in foot traffic, those cars are going to park somewhere. So are we going to have to make sure that our streets have available street parking? And is that going to widen streets in a development like Orchard View Shopping Center, what's proposed to do that? And then are we shrinking developable land down at the same time? I mean, I understand people are doing this, and in theory it makes sense, but I'm unsure about some of the negative impacts of that. And then the other quick question I have is, when is this whole thing supposed to be done?
So I didn't hear the last question.
My last question was, when is the whole process of this review to be done and accepted?
Okay.
Potentially.
Okay, yeah. So with regards to parking, so one of the reasons to eliminate the minimum is that the minimum parking ratios create a need for supply of on-street parking that will increase the cost of development, right? We've provided the maximum if a specific development needs additional parking for the specifics of that use, then there is an option that the developer could request an increase of that maximum to allow for additional parking. And with regards to the on-street parking, note in the typical street cross-section of and design is not anticipated to have on-street parking.
All right, thank you.
And the timeline?
And the timeline, I don't know if you want to touch on that, Kelly.
To be determined right now. We are in the process of getting an updated proposal from House of Levine, the consultant, to look at next steps in terms of, we have the UDO rewrite, but we also have to do zoning maps that need to go in tandem with them. So we're going to be reviewing that, and we'll have a better idea when we get that proposal.
Thank you. But just for the sake of argument, this will not be this year. We will not be finishing this in 2023. I know, I just want to put it out there. So anyone that's saying, hey, we're trying to rush this thing, this will not be completed in 2023.
Correct. And I'd like to focus on what Regulo had said, which is that we will be involving community engagement opportunities for feedback. And we have done that in the beginning of all of this. And my understanding is there weren't very many people that showed up. So we will be obviously providing those opportunities for the feedback from our community.
Mr. City Attorney.
What's the status of the comprehensive master plan update? Statutory time limit, 10 years, and that's passed. And I know I said on the record, the comp plan has been amended many, many, many times for areas, but the comprehensive master plan has to be updated.
Correct. Yeah. So we do have, I would say it's fair to say that we have two somewhat, I don't know if they're, I guess we have two vendors that have provided us with some feedback and costs for that. I wouldn't necessarily call it an official bid, but we realize that that has to be done. Obviously, the UDO rewrite is in progress. We need to do the zoning maps update to go ahead and incorporate the UDO rewrite. And we also need to do the comprehensive master plan.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. You have the floor. He's done. Anyone else? Okay, we've got no further action on this. We'll just wait for the next update.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Regulo. Madam Finance Director, item G19, the 2024 proposed budget. If you'd like to quickly bring us up to speed.
So now that
Hello.
Just closer.
So now that the recommended changes have been approved, those will be incorporated into the budget. Again, if you have any questions, concerns, you can reach out to department heads, reach out to myself, and any other changes going forward will be on the next few meetings. Otherwise, the final 2024 proposed budget will be displayed and talked about on November 28th at the public hearing.
Any further discussion or just receive and place on file? For council direction? See this information right now?
Receive and place on
Special
file.
meeting on November 20th.
Yeah.
Well, that's on here, yes. But I'm just looking at, it says per common council direction. So we're good with the 28th. I'll say it again, we're good with the 28th.
Receive and place on file.
Good. First,
Second.
first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right. G20, authorize a budget amendment request for maintenance staffing needs. Madam Director of Administration.
Okay. So we have a lead maintenance custodian that is retiring. In fact, he's retiring next month. And he has his successor is coming over from the PD. And he would like some time to train his replacement over at the PD before he's over here full-time at City Hall. So the budget amendment request is to provide, to essentially reallocate funds from our severance payments account to cover that retirement and also the time for the new hire to be trained by our new lead custodian.
So you're recommending number 2.
Correct.
Reduce the budget in account number 01-0199-5114, severance payments, and add it to the maintenance budget to cover the deficit. This account was budgeted for retirements requiring severance payments during the year. Logically, we would fund the maintenance personnel account 01-0181-5111 with the necessary expenditure required from the severance payments account.
So move.
Mr. City Attorney.
This an actual technical budget amendment?
No, this is a request. The budget amendment, once approved, would, that would follow,
Because
yes.
it does say it, but I didn't think it was.
Right, yeah, no, this is not a budget amendment that
Okay.
I'm asking to have
Ordinance.
done. It's an approval to bring one next time.
All right, thank you. So we had a first. Who was the first? Barbara's first, seconded by Day. Any further discussion? Mr. Holfer.
So what's the total amount we're looking at?
That is on the next page, and I believe it is roughly $5,198.67, give or take, to cover that new employee.
So
It's essentially,
5,000 including the training?
no, that is the training. That's for the training for the new hire.
Okay, and we have the new hire already?
Yes, and he's excited to start.
Good. We got a first and a second. So no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Out of curiosity, can I ask who the hire is? Or are we going to meet them or?
Yes, you for sure can meet the new hire. Absolutely. We can set that
But
up
it's
with
still
Madam
welcome.
Director.
They ever want to come to a meeting, so.
Absolutely agree. Item G21, update on a private property infiltration and inflow projects in the Willow Point Estates, Root River Heights, and Lake Point Estates neighborhoods. Tyler.
Thank you. So this is, like I said, an update on our private property infiltration and inflow projects. They've been under design since about February. So the goal of this program with these projects is to utilize MMSD funding, so it would be no cost to the city, to reduce clear water, stormwater, groundwater from getting into the sanitary sewer system. So city staff with our consultants Clark Dietz and Baxter Woodman we looked at the design, we targeted 3 neighborhoods, and the draft design plans that we are looking to bid out for construction are only including Lake Point Estates and Willow Point Estates neighborhood. So some of the kind of factors that we needed to look at was participation, because to utilize the MMSD funds to their full extent, we need 100% participation. Otherwise, the city would have to be obligated to cover that expense if a property owner didn't want to participate and we ran it in front of their house. So the goal with all of these projects is we would bid them out. They're going to be bid with several alternatives, would allow staff and our consultants to make sure that we can get in touch with the property owners before we bring back awarding the projects to ensure that we have 100% participation. There would be no cost to the city, no cost to the residents. It would be solely funded by MMSD funds. So we are looking for, I guess, a direction to bid out. We would open bids at the end of this month, and then initially on this council action sheet, we said December 5th we would return. After discussion with our consultants, we think it would be best after we open bids to reach back out to the property owners, make sure that we're not forcing something on someone who changed their mind, doesn't really want to participate, and make sure we get that 100% participation, and we can utilize funds and have no cost to the city or residents.
Alderman Barber.
Are the two subdivisions that are being chosen initially for 24, do they have higher participation rates initially going in? Or is that just something that was, and then my second question is, does the Red River Heights come up in 75? Is that potential out there for that? I need to know what to tell my people.
So the participation that we received, the feedback we received, I think the two neighborhoods that we're going with were a slight bit higher. They were all pretty close. So some of the factors we looked at were, we needed a bank of homes in a row, because if we had 5 homes in a row and the middle home said, no, we don't want to participate, it's not going to be cost effective, and the city would have to pay for that middle portion. Our goal is that this program will be really successful, and that word of mouth just from the neighborhoods will encourage their neighbors, and more people in River Heights would want to, so that next year, I should say the year after, we would be able to continue this and pick up large sections of that neighborhood and expand it into other neighborhoods in the future. And the goal would be to use MMSD funds.
So I can say tentatively 25 for the Red River Heights.
We will be exploring again next year. I don't know that we know offhand what those MMSD funding for that following year after we use up this allotment will be, but we definitely want to consider looking in that neighborhood and the other ones.
Do we have a motion here?
I'll make the motion.
To direct staff to bid out PP2 projects for Willow Point Estates and the Lake Point Estates. Is that your motion?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Alderman Craig. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item G22, a good thing. List of donations for July through September of 2023.
Mayor, if you don't mind, before we vote, I'm going to abstain from voting on this, simply due to the fact that I am a member of the Lions Club. I believe I need to then to abstain, correct, Jesse?
Whatever you wish to do is up to you. You can abstain on any vote you want. So do we have a motion on this?
Motion
to acknowledge and accept
donations received.
All right, we've got a first Barber, a second Hopfer. All those in favor?
Aye.
We've got any opposed? We have 5 ayes and 1 abstention. Motion carries. G23, approval to include the police chief as an eligible position to qualify for retiree health insurance.
So moved.
Second.
There'll be first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries. That's a big deal. So why don't we go to H and I, and then we'll do our closed stuff. Licensing, who's doing licensing?
I can take it.
Alderwoman Day.
License committee met earlier this evening. There were 7 new operator licenses, 3 public grant requests, a temporary Class B beer and wine, and a temporary entertainment and amusement. All were approved unanimously. So looking for a motion to accept those approvals.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
So we have a first, seconded by Barber. We don't want to do roll call for this? All is in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Can I ask a licensing special events question?
Alderman Hofer, you've got the floor.
So recently for the Halloween, we had somebody advertising a festival type thing in Franklin, special event, that I don't know that they hold a license for. And given that we're being stringent with one, I mean, should we contact this person and say, hey, you can't do that without a permit, or?
Well, be more specific. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Uncle Bob or
Bill.
Bill, something like that. I think by the Christmas tree farmers, they were advertising and it was rides and pumpkins and.
It probably should, yeah.
To my are you done?
Yeah, I'm just raising the question.
To my understanding, from what I recall being on licensing last year as well, that event was on licensing for approval to the best of my knowledge. And I did not see it come back again this year. So I didn't know.
I think
Great place, you know, but-
Alderman Holford, to answer your question, I think I agree with Alderwoman Day, yeah, probably does need it. I didn't know about the rides and the pumpkins. But it's something that's, you know, if it's that big and it's out there.
But I mean, it's one of those things that we don't know who's monitoring or who's responsible to monitor. And if we're going to look at all of the special event stuff, we might as well look at that as well.
But I guess, okay, so let me flip this back at you. So is it something that was found on the internet? Is it something that was somebody traveled upon and saw it? I mean, and then what happens then? Do you call the police and you ask them to, you know, go over there and produce a permit? You know, do they get notified by somebody at City Hall that calls them up? I mean, I guess that's how I'm looking at it is, I mean, I didn't know, I didn't hear about it, but I guess, I mean, there's gotta be, you know, I don't think there's ever gonna be that catch-all that's gonna work every single time. And then who do you go to if you see an event? I mean, these are popping up all the time, all sorts of things. And to your point, I think there should be a mechanism, but I mean, what is it if it's not reported by anybody that there is a violation? Alderman Eichman.
To my understanding, I did go to this event
Aha.
last year, last fall, actually.
Oh, I'm trying to blame you this year.
However, it's a haunted kind of trail too. Really kind of cool, actually.
Okay.
And I mean, they're a great place that offers a lot of things, you know, throughout the year, Christmas
Sure.
times. But I'm thinking in my head, we could probably all sit here and list different events throughout even the past couple of months in Franklin that I know people have gone to and attended that had a permit last year, and they most definitely did not this year.
Okay.
I myself, as an alder, choose not to go to those events until I have clarification. If they need a permit last year, they needed a permit this year. Other places
I
don't
would
need a
just go
permit. We
crazy
just
and
have
just
to
go.
like.
I would just go. I wouldn't worry about it.
again,
I
this
wouldn't
is-
hold your life up. I would just forge
But again,
forward.
this is
Forge forward.
yeah.
All
But
right.
again, this is what we're going to be revisiting in January again, to my
Yes.
understanding, right? So we'll
You are
make sure
correct.
that we bring that back, and
Any further discussion on this? If not, I'm going to go to item
I
I as
think
an
the
item.
attorney has an.
Should that be checked out? My thought that it should have contacts, et cetera, if there was a permit issued or license issued last year.
Again, I could write a list off the top of my head. I'm not going to sit here and single out different businesses and so forth, but there is another recent large event in Franklin. I'll leave out some of the details of it.
Probably a good idea.
Probably a good idea.
How about we
I
just
was
do
not
this
there
right
either.
now?
And there's several that had permits last year that didn't this year.
Okay. City Attorney, your point is taken. We'll move on to item I. Motion approving the following city vouchers with an ending date of November 2nd, 2023, in the amount of $2,804,161.74. Payroll dated October 20th, 2023, in the amount of $488,346.36. And payments of the various payroll deductions in the amount of $516,193.59, plus city matching payments. And payroll dated November 3rd, 2023, in the amount of $476,668.48, and payments of the various payroll deductions in the amount of $263,818.69, plus city matching payments. And estimated payroll dated November 17th, 2023, in the amount of $464,000, and payments of the various payroll deductions in the amount of $495,000, plus city matching payments. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Barber and Holfer. This is a roll call vote.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
I like it. 6 ayes, no nos, motion carries. Going back to regular agenda item. Let's see. Item G24. A motion to enter closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1985, sub 1, sub C as in Charles, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governing body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, Wisconsin statute 1985, sub 1, sub F as in Frank, considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories of disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personnel, problems, or in the investigation of charges against specific persons, except where para B applies, which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred in such histories or data, or involved in such problems or investigations, and Wisconsin State Statute 1985, sub 1, sub G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is likely to become involved, and to re-enter open session at the same place thereafter to act on such matters discussed therein as it deems appropriate.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. We have a roll call on this, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann.
Aye.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nos. We are slowly creeping into closed session. 11 p.m., we are back in open. We are going to now go to, there was no action taken on the previous item. We're back to G25. A motion. You're good. A motion with regard to city personnel performance evaluation with Director of Administration to enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 1985, sub 1, sub C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governing body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility, and to re-enter open session at the same place thereafter to act on such matters discussed therein as it deems appropriate.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. We have roll call on this, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann.
Aye.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nos. We are slowly going into closed session again. To adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned. Yeah, I'm learning that.